Alright, hello. How's it going there, FS? Yep, did a little bit of, did some painting and work on it, and it looks a lot more like a whale now. So I also really sculpted the tail. I lost some cargo capacity, but I sculpted out the tail a little bit here to accentuate the whale look and to make it less symmetrical. So I'm happy with it. It took flight last night. VTOL, it needs some work, because I need to essentially convert it to a 4-banger. But the gear has to come out now. You know, the gear has to come out when it spawns because it is just too tall. So, at present, it is a tail dragger. It's probably what it's going to have to stay as a tail dragger because of the weight and balance. And sculpting it to be a little bit more whale shape. So, the center of gravity is right there-ish. So the gear needs to be behind the center of gravity or it will sit on its tail. So since the gear is ahead of the center of gravity, it is going to be a tail dragger likely. This actually is beneficial for example, since we have a door with a ramp, when I'm loading this, what you have to do in cargo operations is, for example, like say I was going to load this with containers. As soon as I put a container all the way in the tail, it's going to sit on its tail anyway. And so you need a tail stand. So I was going to have to build a tail stand. And now with this, because the ramp comes out and it is going to be nice and stable on the front, this is going to allow for cargo wops. So as the ramp comes down there, I'm going to probably have to increase the angle some more. But what this will allow it is I can drive up the ramp and put weight like a cargo container on the ramp. And then it can, it won't sit on its tail. Well, it's fine if it sits on its tail because it has a wheel there. So I might put a tail stand anyway to get this ramp down. I'll have to figure out how I want to do the ramp here. Might be able to get a little bit more angle on the ramp. Probably can angle the ramp just a hair more. I bet I can. I just need that to touch the ground. Because if I'm going to drag, especially if I'm going to drag a container, it will hit this lip and I can't drag it up. As long as that's pushed down into the ground, I can drag the container on. So it lost some capacity, but there's very little chance I was going to be able to take 6 anyway. So this is the new interior. It's kind of got some hips on there to make it a little bit more whale shape. It should be able to take 1 container here, at least 4 in the middle. I don't know if I'm going to get one in the nose or not. We'll see. But if I can, that will work out. If not, it's not a big deal either. But I should be able to get... And I'll have to measure up these sides to see if I can get 4 in there. But probably pretty close to getting that many in there. I'll have to see. I could even also try to load them sideways. We'll have to see what that looks like. But that's currently what we're looking at there. How's it going there, Ghost Cone? Just post it in the Discord under build help there, Ghost Cone. If I have time or if somebody else in the community can do it, that'll work. So, all right, so ramp's going back in, so that should work. Just a little bit of a change in the ramp, and that will work for cargo ops. So I'm really digging this thing. I think the paint came out really good. Makes me smile having these things, but it's going to be named after some sort of whale. I'm leaning towards Minky, but we'll see. And so let's go ahead and go for a quick flight. It doesn't really work as a VTOL yet because I have to play with it and convert it for essentially 4 rotors running. But it works fine. Actually, you know what I want to do here? Let's do this. I put too much. So one thing you can do is to get a little bit of extra lift, just put in some fins. But you don't have to make them actually articulate. They will still give you lift. So what I'll do here too is like here's center of gravity off this spar here. And I'll give a couple here. And this will give you extra lift. I should have done symmetry on that. Let's do symmetry and then do that. And that will give you some extra lift. The issue I'm having now is I have too much lift in the tail and not enough... actually, let's not put them in the middle for now. So I added a little bit of nose lift here, right here. So that should give me a little extra lift. So let's actually test it out like this. Let's go for a quick little flight. So for example, there are a couple ways you can do this. You know, if you add flaps, you can really get the rotation speed down. Like, a lot of my stuff, like, I've got it so that the Antonov 2 can go down to like 30 knots. So you can do a lot with flaps in game to help you. Be able to get some extra lift at lower speeds. And so this doesn't have flaps currently. It's gonna be a struggle to get some flaps in there. No, I don't have I need to turn infinite fuel on. I'm gonna turn damage off too for now. Alright, those are up and running. Let's do these two. So we'll go for a short little flight. Yeah, so I kind of wanted this one to be a little bit more memey. It's already a little ridiculous, the look of it, so I was like, let's go full on whale. You know, the likelihood to get 6 containers for BVG is unlikely anyway, so I'm pretty confident I'll at least be able to do 4, maybe 5. So that shouldn't be a problem. I currently have the brakes on too. I'm taxiing with the brakes on. That's why it's misbehaving. Let me get the brakes off here. There we go. Taxi a little bit better with brakes off. But it is a big Johnny, and so its main job is just to take incredibly large loads. It's kind of like the Guppy. You know, that's its job, is just to take very large cargoes. And so another thing to help get the takeoff, to facilitate a shorter takeoff, is I'm going to go up to about 50%. So 45-degree angle on the rotors. And I do need, like I said, I need to work on the VTOL controls, but works as an airplane, so I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead and take off. You know, people would say, "Oh, there's no visibility." This is how it is in a real plane. You know, you get something like an Antonov 124, you get into a 7.4, you're not seeing past the nose anyways. So it's like, even if you're sitting right on those windows, all you're going to see is the nose, so there's no point. You start to get perception of where you are. You don't really need it. So there we go. We're lifting off about 56 knots. So it has a nice slow speed takeoff. You know, and it makes sense. I have the props at 45 degrees, so half the thrust is going directly up to push us up. So, whoa, something's up, something's up, something's up. Okay, I don't know what that's all about. But that's probably the VTOL issue I'm having, so I need to look at that. So let's get this working with VTOL. That is definitely something that needs doing. So I'd like to get rid of some of this other crap. I have part of Albatross sitting there. I have part of Chickadee sitting here with parts ripped all off it so I can get out of the hangar. These are some of the old gear in here just hanging out. Bunch of crap just sitting around in here. But so I need to work on some stuff for VTOL. I want to get that ironed out. So I'm trying to conceptualize what the 4 needs to be. So for 2, you do the pitch together, and you do, what is it, opposing roll? I can't remember. We're having a roll issue. I think it might, so let me look at this. This is Chickadee D here. So I'll look at how I have Chickadee set up. So roll should be probably the same. All right, so here is roll, starboard, and port. What am I running? Roll, and then am I running anti-roll? What are we on here? The X coordinate. So okay, so I'm running negative to starboard. So roll should be the same front and back, essentially. So roll should be the same. Pitch should be... Pitch is a question. And then yaw should run the same left-right. So I need to work this up for 4 engines, essentially. So I'm trying to think if I make them... pitch. Pitch is the only real question I have. Roll should be the same. Port starboard. So let's go up and let's work on this. So what do we have here? Pitch port, collective. Okay, let's go out. I need to see how big this microcontroller is, see if I can swell and grow. Alright, I can. Alright. I dump the music down a little bit. On my end, the music's loud, so. Let me know if it gets loud for you guys or not. Yeah, I work it out myself. I just go through it myself and how I want to articulate. So what do we have here? We have pitch star, pitch port, collective. Okay, so I'm gonna run 4. I'm gonna run them all independently. So let's see. Pitch port forward. Pitch star forward. And then the collective should all be the same. That's fine. Alright, so let's reorganize this a little bit. So that's pitch forward, starboard forward, and then I'm going to want 2 more. We'll do the other 2 in the other 2. So pitch, no, pitch can be all the same. I don't know. Pitch is the one I'm going to change them anyways. Let's see. Let's just do that. So, port forward. They're going to have to stay pitch. Crap. Collective is going to be the same. Roll should be the same. I'll just do all 4 of them. Screw it. I'm going to give myself an aneurysm trying to do this another way. Port forward. Starboard forward. Alright, and then I can do... Collective is the same, roll is the same, so I really only need pitch. Pitch port forward. Pitch. Okay. Alright, pitch starboard forward. Prop pitch, collective. Collective, I need roll starboard and roll port. Okay, that's good. Alright, pitch forward, pitch starboard front, and then I need these 2. Okay. So this will be number output, pitch, port, rear, number, output, pitch, starboard, rear. Alright, let's go with that, and then let's work these. So, thinking mechanically, so the roll should be the same, essentially, as a 2. We are just running at doubles on either side, so the rolls are going to be fine. So we can do roll starboard port, those are fine. And then what am I adding on there? I'm adding, what is this? Okay, so this is the speed disconnect. So what this is doing is once we get up over a certain speed, we're going to automatically shut off the rotors doing the movements. That means we have enough airflow over our control surface. The control surfaces can take over. All right, next. So pitch takes in yaw and pitch at the same time. So essentially, to yaw, what you're going to do is you're going to take your, let's say we want to yaw to the right. So your port, both your port props are going to go pitch forward, and both your starboards are going to pitch back, and that's going to cause a yaw motion. So that's what this is doing. And I'm trying to think of pitch. So what you're essentially doing is you're pitching the blades forward to go forward, and what you're doing is articulating your thrust to help pitch you forward. Okay, good. Yeah, it comes in overly loud for me. Let me see if I can't. So I just want to make sure it's good for you guys. You know, I could do a collective forward back. I could add that in, but I'm already doing a bunch on collective. yeah, you can pretty much use any of them to do, roll, yaw, but I tend to leave the rolls and the yaw. The rolls as roll and the yaw will go on pitch. Like sometimes I'll also use the pivots themselves. I don't like doing that too much. It can add instability. So I'm trying to think how I want to pitch this. So essentially what I could do is pitch down for the forward, the fronts, and pitch backwards. So that's what I think I'll do. So here's pitch. Let me check them. So I essentially need to... Okay, so let's see. So for pitch forward, pitch port forward. Good lord. All right. This should work fine. The yaw should work fine. The pitch starboard front, the pitch should work fine. And the yaw should work fine. All right. That all works. So what I need to do then is, now we need to think up the rears. So what I'm going to do is grab these, Control-C, all right. And then I'm going to convert these out. So essentially what I have in here is the same thing. I'm part of this formula here is I am cutting out right here. This is the rotor angle. So once the rotor gets past this angle, it's going to do an up-down counter. And what this does is when the rotor is starting to come up, it's going into a positive number, and it's articulating the up-down counter, and it's going to count up to a value of maximum of 1. And what this will do is slowly take away the effect of your propellers. So as I start to bring them up, they're going to start to become less and less effective, and I'll have to rely more and more on the control surfaces. And that gives you a nice smooth transition from VTOL to horizontal. And so that's essentially what's going on here. So I just need to pull these and pull these here. Let's go like that. And I'm just going to grab the linkage. It should be the same link. It should be this. And those are going in X. There we go. All right, put them back. All right, so that's the whole job of this, is just to essentially slowly take away the effectiveness once we start rotating. All right, and then we're going to do pitch to the top node here. Pitch, pitch. Yaw is going to go middle, 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 and middle. And then going to the bottom here, I have, this is my speed thing. So once we get up to 38 meters per second, we now have enough airflow over our control surfaces that we no longer need the propellers to do any of that. So we want to cut that out. And we want to rely on our control surface. As soon as we have the opportunity to make our control surfaces work, that's when we want our control surfaces to work. And so that converts us into an airplane, essentially. So that's all in there. Now what I need to consider is, so what I'm going to do is, in, say, the Chickadee being a 2-prop VTOL, when I want to lean forward, the 2-prop pitches are going to pitch forward for me, and they're going to let me just double check, make sure that's what's going on here with Chickadee. I took out Chickadee's panel, so I can invert them if need be. So I can tell right here what they're doing. So they essentially have to be the reverse in the back. And so what I'm going to do here is I need to find the pitch command here on the rears. So here are the rears. Here's the pitch command. The pitch command's X. So I'm going to negate the X's. Or invert the X's, more like it. Alright, so the X's are now inverted. And so that should hopefully fix my pitch. Alright, let's connect all this crapola. Alright, pitch starboard rear. I want to check these rotors too. Ins forward. Okay, good. Just checking the orientation there. So pitch rear. Okay, roll. I don't have the roll hooked up. No wonder I'm having issues back here. Is this roll's not hooked up? That could be very much what my issue is back here. Collective. I don't know why my collective's not connected in. What did I connect in here? English language me speak. Okay, that would be part of it. I hooked these up wrong, so that could be a big part of what's going on here. Yep, that would be a big part of what my issue is. So might have been actually all right. Having issues with this now because of it. All right, so that was. I was wondering why I was having funkiness. I hooked this up wrong. All right. And then we have roll starboard is fine. Roll port is coming in here. All right. So let's try to. So what I'm trying to do with the pitch is what's going to happen is these are going to be in opposition. So these will try to drop my nose as these try to raise my tail and vice versa for those. So let's just quickly check them because I had errors before. So we have pitch, port rear. This should be roll starboard, roll and roll. Good, that is roll port, roll and roll. This should be collectives all around in the center. Good. That should be pitch starboard forward. That should be pitch forward, port forward. All right, so that looks good. Let's go give this a flight. So no wonder we were having issues. I was using my roll for collective, and I didn't have the rolls in there at all on some of the stern pieces. So oh, I hated the directional lines. Yeah, it used up so much resources. As with most things, I think what they should have done is put it as a checkbox so the people who liked it could have it, and the people who don't like it could shut it off, you know? I always think that's the way to go. Go with a checkbox. You know, it's more work for them, whatever, but it's like, that makes it so that, for example, you like it and I don't like it, so we both can have our way. Tends to always be my choice with these things, is make it so that everybody can have what they want. Parking brake, release. What's up with my rotors here? Okay, so let's see. I'm having a minimal collective issue here. What's up with my minimum collective? Why am I not getting... Let me check something here. It should be reading off a port, so I should be running... Get out of there, you dough. Alright, let me check where this is coming in here. So I should be reading the prop pitch off of this. So where are we at there? I moved some nodes, so that's why. Rotor angle got disconnected when I moved the nodes, so I need a rotor angle off one of them. And then I have my prop pitch, no wonder. So when I moved those nodes, it got disconnected. I probably... There we go. And we're going to read prop pitch off that, and then I need to check this one. This one got disconnected too. So that's physics sensor. All right, all those are important. So when you move nodes like that, it will disconnect them. All right. Good. So that should fix some of those issues. So no wonder I was having control issues. I had not gotten to the point, and I thought I was there, and I forgot to hook some things up. So. Click, 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 click. A bunch of the stuff isn't even connected, but like those are all fuel valves, so. Yeah, water hose for that is a good idea. So Citrus's idea is to put a water hose on the top that spews water out of the top. That is a good idea, like a blowhole. I'll have to do that. I do like that idea. Alright, let's go. So we're going to go... I'm just manually controlling my rotors at the moment. So there's 50. I always like to have manual control of that. I know a lot of people will do like a VTOL mode. I'm not a huge fan of that just because, like, as a pilot, I want to command it. You know, even if you have a situation where you only need, like, say, 2% of the time, you know, a lot of times pilots want to have the option to do what they need to do. For example, like a lot of the emergency stuff, you might only use, you know, 1 or 2% of the time. You know, you could go your whole career with never having it, yet there are still, for example, fire handles in the airplanes I've flown. You know, there are fire handles. I've never had a fire, but guess what? The handles are still there, and you definitely want them if you have a fire. And it's kind of that whole notion with, like, the ability for me to manually turn my rotors. Like, for example, there are many opportunities. So, like, sometimes you'll put in where the rotors go from 0 to 45 degrees to vertical. Sure, but there are also times when, guess what? I want 20%. You know, like if I have a strong tailwind, I may need 20% pitch up to get in enough speed to be able to take off. And so that's an opportunity I might need. Okay, let's go full up on this one here. You know, so it might be a very slim use case, but it still is a use case when I might need it. And so, as a pilot, I want that use case. All right, here we go. All right, so we're able to pitch. So pitch is working well. Let me make sure I can get back. Okay, it's over pitching. I can't fix it right now. What's going on here? That's no good. All right. Let's try this really quick. Let's do the same pitch on all of them and see how it behaves. Because I might actually prefer that. So let's go. The pitch isn't going to work with yaws. Let's do this really quick. Let's try to get rid of those inversions and see. Because that was the other thought, is I can run them like this. Let's try that. Let me make sure I hooked those correctly. Let me check them. Okay, so these should, as long as they're forward, so these need to be port star, port star. Okay, good. So that should work. Update that. Let's try this. So I had like a runaway pitch. It just kept pitching. I couldn't pitch back. So this is one of the things I try not to do, but throw an albatross. So albatross is, you know, mature and is mostly, you know, done. So I try not to do this too much in the stuff I need to flight test. Like, you see how long the startup procedure is on this? So I kind of usually go through a phase where it's like I press 6, all the engines come on, and I can just go test. And then later I make it so it has a long startup procedure, because it's like it makes the test take a while. But the benefit of doing it this way is I don't have to worry about going through that reconfiguration where I completely rip out the cockpit and try to change it over. So it has its pluses and minuses. All right. All right, so now it's behaving itself. Okay. Yep. So it's just that roll issue. Whoa, bird. I really don't want to squash him. All right, so it's behaving itself. Roll's having problems here. I have a runaway roll. I need to fix roll. Okay, roll is running away. I need to fix the roll. Having roll issues here. Alright, so it's running away with the roll. I need to figure that out. Alright, so I'm gonna look at the what do you call it? Alright, let's alright, so roll. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna look at the information and write it down. So we'll look as the props here. So if we look, this interior here and the interiors on the other side of my rolls. So we look at them eventually. So we have port forward to roll right. So these are all going to be roll rights to starboard. Port forward is a plus. All right, to roll right. This means that starboard forward is going to negative. This should make starboard rear negative as well. And this should make port rear a positive as well. So go in there and we'll check the inversion. So pitch works well. I could probably get rid of some of this for all the pitch, but I'd rather independently control all four. It just makes it really... where's my last one? Where the hell am I? Okay, right here. I just didn't drag that one back. Okay, I was like, this looks weird. Alright, so we need to go through the rolls again. So let's actually drag that. I don't need to drag it out. Alright, where's my rolls? Alright, here's my rolls. So I need to look at the rolls. So my starboard should be negative. Starboard negative. Okay, my roll is my X. So this is a negative X. That's good. That's a positive X. So that is the right. Actually, no. I need to double check it. Make sure that's correct. So let's actually spawn it. And what I did was I hooked up a bunch of dials in here to read the raw data. And so what I'm going to do is I'll just trim in some roll. And so this is my roll indication here. So starboard is positive. So these are probably all wrong. So starboard, if I want to go to starboard, I'm giving it a positive number. And so let me check this. So we'll go in there and we'll check it in a second here. Let me quickly fix this. Okay. So somebody was asking yesterday, how do you cancel this out perfectly? So I'm still holding the Alt key. I hold A and D at the same time. It zeros. Now I keep holding the A and D and I let go of Alt. And now that's how you center those out. All right, so let me just double check that one more time. If I want to go to starboard, it's positive. Port is negative. So starboard, positive. Port is negative. All right. All right, so to go starboard. All right, so let me see. And then my... so starboard is positive, and so I need... The inversion looks backwards here, so let me check it. So if I want to roll to starboard, I need to go negative. Is that right? Let me look at them. I'm going to roll to starboard. It needs to be negative. So that does need to invert. Okay. I'll check it in a second here. Just checking all this here. So it's a simple formula. It's pretty much X times one of these is for speed. So once I get up over a certain speed, it's going to essentially zero out my my prop influence, and then the other one's going to be the angle of the rotors. So for example, if my rotors are full forward, I get no roll, pitch, yaw out of my propellers because my props are forward. I'm supposed to be an airplane. And then also, once I hit a certain speed, I no longer can control my motions with my props, only my control surfaces. And that's a smooth way to do it. So let's double check. So we have negative star, positive port. All right, so I'm inverting starboard. All right, so if I want to roll right, these are fine. So these are going to go this direction, which is the innate direction for that. These need to go inverted, so why is roll not working then? That's the problem, is it's not working, so. Let's get a reading. So what I want to do is I'm going to just take 10 to get a good visualization, just doing dials. So let's grab some dials here. So we have 4 rotors, so I'm going to do... So we'll do forwards, like... Get out of there, you double. Alright, so that's how I'm going to line them up. And then what I want to do is bring in my roll component here. So here's my... if I eventually can find it. So here's roll... Okay. I don't need all 4 of them, do I? No. Okay. Alright, so let's get roll port. And so this just helps visualize it, so I can see any sort of issue I'm having. There's roll port. And here's roll starboard. Alright. And let's go in here and visualize it, and I can see what it's doing. All right, so I want to roll to starboard, which is a positive number. And so that's going to make the... all right, so I'm rolling to starboard. Let me just trim it. All right, so rolling to starboard is a positive number. And so maybe the sensitivity is just too low. You see how long it took for it to come back? Could just be overly sensitive, or it could be too slow. I might need to increase the sensitivity. If you have a small vehicle, it will often, you know, it's a little bit more dynamic. So with this, I really need to be able to control it faster because of the bigger vehicle. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. But anyway, so to roll to starboard, it's going to be a positive number. I need my my ports to go positive. And they're currently reading almost nothing. Okay, what's up with that? So this is an issue. Why is that reading nothing there? Interesting. So those should be reading a value to me than not. So that's probably part of our issue. I need to track that problem down. So I need to make sure I didn't screw up the formulas or something. Came off Chickadee, so it should be running pretty well. Let's check our rolls here. So make sure my roll is connected because it feels like I have no roll, and that would make sense. So pitch, yaw, roll. All right, let's check roll really quickly. Roll is stabilized roll. Okay, that's correct. Make sure I've actually, because I moved a bunch of autopilot stuff around, I want to make sure I'm getting the right stuff here. So that's the roll input. It should be from this new autopilot up here, Chickadee's autopilot. Roll should be coming in from roll to gyro, correct? Okay, so that's all in there. So I'm trying to fundamentally run down the issue here. So we have our roll coming in is our X coordinate. Okay, X, that looks good for inversion. Roll star, roll port, okay. And then what I'm doing here is this is the Z component. If the speed is not greater than 38, which it is not. All right, if the speed is greater than 38, what it's going to do is reduce this down to 0 so that the props stop working. If it's not greater than 38, it's going to increase it. So likely, what's potentially going on here is I have to check the physics sensor connection, make sure I fix that. Because if that's problematic, that will read incorrectly. And then the other one is the rotor property here. I need to read the rotor angle. So the other issue here is if the rotor angle is less than this, 0.12, it's going to... Let me read this really quick here. So if the rotor angle is less than 0.12, which means the rotors are forward, it's going to zero me out, and that's another condition, so I need to check that. So I want to grab a rotor angle, so we'll just grab... I'm reading off of this one, I think, here. That will go there. Let me make sure this got plugged in, because a bunch of the stuff got unplugged earlier. All right. So let's give this a look. So something is negating my roll authority, and it makes sense because it feels like I have no roll control. So, all right, so we are trimmed out to 0.69. These still are reading zeros. Okay, that's not good. And then rotor is showing 0. Okay, so likely what happens is... okay, you know what it is? See Chickadee? This came off of Chickadee. Chickadee starts with its rotors in the forward position. This one starts with its rotors in the vertical position. So that is my issue, is the rotation position. So I just need to flip this. So that's all the issue is going on here. So that would cause that problem. So I just need to reconfigure it. So what's going to happen is, as I move this, that's moving them forward, as you can see. So what I want is to change it to a greater than. And so I will say, So what we'll do is 0.25 is maximal. So 125, so let's see. Let me just double check. Pretty much 0.25 is the max readout. Yep, 0.25, so it'd be 0.25 minus 0.125 is going to be 0.125. Of course. So if these are... So all I need to do is change that over to a greater than. That's my issue is... So Chickadee starts with the rotors forward, this one starts with the rotors up, and this is canceling out all my motion. So that's all this is. So I need to change this to a greater than. Or I just need to move, need to move this. That's all I need to do. Okay. Let me go back in there. I can just flop this, so. What happened with this? Interesting. I don't have the other condition on here. All right, so if the rotor angle is less than, if it's less than this, I want to, no, this is right. Let me look. I gotta work this out in my head. So 0.25 is rotors all the way forward. So if it is less than 0.125, yeah, it should be increasing this to 1. And then not... like that. Nah, so now I'm confused why this isn't working. Alright, if this is less than a quarter, which means it's... No, okay, that is backwards. Okay. If this is greater than... What the fuck am I doing in my mind? My mind's screwed up, guys. So between 0 and 125... So if this is between 0 and 0.125... Yeah, that's fine. So if it's less than 0.125, it should be running up. And not, it should be running down. So if it's not less than that, so if it's greater than 0.125, it should be decreasing this. Yeah, so that should work now. All right. So that is one of my cancellation systems that's doing it. So, all right, we're currently at 0. That's good. All right. Christ, why are these screwed up? Okay, so see, it's doing the opposite still. So now when these are forward, okay, it's now giving me my roll. And now when they are... Okay, so let's just flip it. My brain's having conceptualization problems. I'll check chat in a second, but we're good now. So this should go like that. That should go like that. Zing, zang, zal. So it's backwards, completely backwards to Chickadee, so I needed to flip it. So the dials help, especially like when my brain's having a fart right now and I can't conceptualize it in my head. I can easily just look at the dials. And so, for example, we're still showing I want to go right. And then, you son of a bitch, you're not working, are you? All right, you're going to be a pain in the ass today, aren't you? Going to be a pain in the ass today, huh? It's still working inverted. I don't know how it's working inverted here. Let's see. Why is this working screwed up here? Oh, I wonder if this is what it is, the clamp. Let's find out what that's hooked to. So this is hooked to X. So the X is the... Okay, X is what? 1, 0, Z. Wow. What did I do to this? I'm trying to look at this really quick and figure out what the friggin' hell I'm doing here. Why is this not plugged in anything? Okay, this is where it's screwed up. Okay, so it's not even screwed up there at all anymore. Alright. Christ, I gotta fix this now. Alright, so this should be hooked up correctly now. So if these are less than 125, it should be decreasing. Oh, no. This is less than, if this is less than 125, that should be increasing, not should be there. All right, that is this. Okay. All right. That's fine. So if my rotor tilt is less than 0.125, I should be increasing that. If it is greater than that, we're in forward flight, it should be decreasing it. That works. I changed the way the system works. So this system here is not going to my roll. So that would be why I was having issues. Is that actually doesn't go to the roll anymore. That doesn't go to roll. Okay, good. So what is the roll? The roll is being influenced by this, which is rotor angle times 0.4. So that's not going to work. So what's happening here is 0.25 is the maximum rotor pitch, essentially. And the reading when you have your rotors fully forward. And so what I was doing is I was doing rotor angle times times 4. So 0.25 times 4 is 1. And so as the rotor came up, it was cutting the that. And so so that's going to screw up a bunch of stuff here. All right. So I think what I'm going to do here is, I'm never going to get that to work. Let me see. If I do 0.25 divided by 0.25, that means when it's 0.25, it'll be 1. If it's 0.125 divided by 0.25, that'll be 0.5. Okay, that's good. And then if it's say 0.01 divided by 0.25, that's going to be 0.04. Perfect. So that'll work. So what we'll do is here it's going to be, we're going to change that to divided by 0.25. That will fix it. Okay, so that will fix everything. Hopefully I haven't confused everybody as much as I've confused myself. But that works now, so that's good. Okay. And now my lines are an absolute disaster, and I have to fix them or else I'm going to have brain hemorrhage. All right, there we go. All right, so that works. And so the whole issue that I had here, I'll check chat. You guys are probably yelling all sorts of great stuff at me. But the whole issue I had here was the rotors on this start forward, the rotors on this start up. So pretty much all of that information needs to be inverted now to make it work. So let's go check it. That would make sense because I did the roll system different. I forget why I did the roll system different, but I did. It was for a reason. You know, part of it too is like you do a ton of testing. I did a ton of testing with Chickadee, and certain things work, certain things don't work. So you make changes, and then you don't remember the nuance, and then you port the system over. That's one reason why I'll make new stuff. Oh, you son of a bitch! It's still screwy, I think. So right now, this should be reading a positive value, and it's not. I bet if I push these forward, it will do it. You suck. Okay, that sucks. Let's go back in. I'm interested why this isn't running right now. All right, so the roll is the one that needs to be fixed, but this collective is screwed up too. Oh, you know what it is? That's not going to work. All right, let's see. So I need to think of this through again. So rotor angle, if my rotor angle is, so 0 divided by 0.25 is going to be 0, of course. Okay, that's why this is doing it. So I need to think of the formula for, so between 0 and 0.125 is where I want this to work. So I need to figure that out. So what the hell am I doing here? So X is rotor angle. I don't. Why am I doing this differently is the question. That's what I don't get. I'm doing this differently for no reason. This should work now. So if the rotor is less than that, go up. Let's do this. Let's take that, port that in there. And then all these ports for here, which is here and here. Let's unhook those. And then that should hopefully simplify that out and make it work. And so, like, this is all to very smoothly negate the forces. So, like, that is 0. That is working now. Okay, we're in business, I think. All right. Gonna have an aneurysm trying to figure this out. Let me check chat here. I haven't been in chat in a little while, trying to figure this problem out. Sometimes the brain does not want to think of a problem through, and like you saw, that little difference between rotors up and down completely flipped my system. Do I happen to know the name of the phenomenon where complex twins have their governors get out of sync and the plane starts yawing back and forth? You know, they have prop sync to essentially try to mitigate that, but I've never had an issue where they really yaw back and forth. I've never experienced that too much. I didn't, you know, I only had like 120, 150 hours on piston twins. Most of my twin time is in jet turbines, but you know, your props can get out of sync, and then, like, for example, a King Air will have a prop sync on there, and so that will automatically sync up your props. We would just manually do it by ear. You could kind of hear it, because even if you had the RPS or the RPM the same, sometimes you could hear one was out, and we'd do it by ear, and you could get them to sync up so it wasn't so annoying, because it would sound like wah, 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 wah the whole time, and like you didn't want to hear that forever, so you would sync them up until now they're going wah, you know, but I can't think of the term of it. I'm just reading some more chat. Yep, yeah, I got the citruses, put the water on there. That's a good idea. Sorry there, Gunter. I just got your comment. Yeah, I've almost never had any issues where the props get out of sync at a piston twin and had that issue. You know, I've done plenty of engine out stuff with a piston single or piston twin. That's all you do is that's pretty much the whole point of going doing a multi-engine rating is to kill an engine. But the problem, like, part of the uselessness of that is, like, you know, most of the professional stuff would... What's going on here with this? I can't get off of Chickadee. Kind of stuck on Chickadee here. Let's... Why can't I get out of here? What am I stuck on? Am I stuck on something? My tail wheel collapsed for some reason. God damn it. Why would my tail wheel collapse? That's weird. I collapsed my tail wheel, so I need to respawn it. Trying to fire this sucker up here. Now let's, I might have started driving before it was ready. Yeah, I very rarely get lateral instability on anything. My big whale, yeah, Minky. It's probably Minky. Yeah, Owl's back in the bottle. Yeah, usually it would go wow, 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 and the engines just start, like, you get a little bit of, you know, missync on there, and so, like, you know, they're off. But, like with a lot of things, you bring the power back a little bit, you'll often fix things. You know, take some of the energy out of the system. You know, I never bothered doing my MEI, my multi-engine instructor, because we only needed like 120 hours of multi to get into the airlines, and so, you know, it's expensive running a twin. You know, to rent it, and so to go and do my MEI wasn't worth it, so I never bothered getting my MEI. And then, you know, you really, like, the MEI was short, like the multi-engine rating was short. It was only like, did my tail wheel just collapse again? What the f is going on with this tail wheel? I need to fix this tail wheel. For some reason now it wants to act the fool. Alright, let's fix this tail wheel. So there's really little reason to go get your multi-engine instructor rating because there wasn't that much opportunity to go get a multi-engine job instructing. And so it was expensive to be doing it if you weren't going to get a job to do it. And so there was no real point. You know, so I didn't do much or any multi-engine instructing, but yeah, I didn't really need to. All right, so let's see. This will go under flush mount. That will go flush mount. That needs to be 2 over. Okay. So let's see if this will work. You know, and then once I pretty much, my goal was to graduate and be in the airlines in 9 months, and I did that. So, you know, I flight instructed really fast and a lot, and then I just get the hell out of there. It's not gonna work like this, is it? What am I running? I'm running dual upper hard points. Okay, that's fine. I just run dual upper hard points. You know, and then my first airline, I flew a jet. You know, so I didn't need to be in, I didn't need really any. Like the same multi-engine stuff doesn't really apply to turbine. You know, you're running twin turbines, like, you know, we can lose an engine, we get very little yaw off of them compared to like a piston twin. You know, piston twin, they joke about piston twins that the second engine is to get you to the site of the crash, because like it really isn't, like you really can't travel, especially in like something like a Seminole, for long periods of time, really, to long distances with a engine out. But in a jet you can. So like we'd have no problem. We could travel quite a ways with a is that gonna? I need 2 blocks. Yeah, it works. We had no problem traveling pretty far. You know, we didn't actually do it, but we could. You know, we do in the simulator running with. What's going on here? Running single engine ops in the simulator. What am I doing here? Trying to see what this is. Which one is my gear panel for this? I'm so lost here. Okay, it's got to be this one then. Okay, down locks, up locks. Okay, I have another set of another gear panel here. It's for Albatross. So. You know, when you have a jet, like, you don't get as much yawing. There's a bunch of stuff, so the single engine procedures are pretty much completely different. Yeah, that's the thing, is a lot of schools don't have any they don't have any twins, and they don't, like, you might have one instructor who does it, and so it's like it's a lot of money, so that needs to go up. That needs to go down 1. Okay. So you might have one instructor that had, you know, that actually does most of it. Like that's where I did flight training. We were training. It was a lot of people from EU, but it was mostly British people who were learning to fly in the U.S. because in Europe you have to pay per landing, and you have to pay per approach, and so it's a little bit more expensive. It's more expensive to learn. And so we were training them in the U.S. because it was cheaper for them. And so they would come over and we would train them, and most of it was single stuff. And if they needed to do any sort of multi-engine stuff, we pretty much had one guy who would do it all, and he would get all that work. And so there was no point in us having the MEI. And so, like, I would go and I would, like, every once in a while we would get a student. For example, I had a student, he liked to rent a twin, and he would just fly around, and I would go with him just to make sure he was confident, and to make sure that he could handle everything. and so I didn't need the MEI. I wasn't instructing him on multi, and I could run it as dual. And so then I would go and you know, so by the time I went to the airlines, I had my 120 hours of multi-engine time. That's all I needed to get the job at the airlines, and I didn't have to do a bunch of instructing on it. All right, so the tail wheel should be fine now. So that was our whole issue with a bunch of our systems. What's going on here? Go forward, please. Thank you. Was that the it was essentially negating all my roll because I have the rotations backwards essentially. Let's put on AP is on. Good. All right, so let's get airborne here, guy. Okay, I know what's going on here. So the issue here is crap, what's going on here? So likely what's going on here is, again, these engines are set up to be on a regular plane. And so I need to figure out my gear ratios. And when this is in vertical mode, I need it to essentially keep the engine spooled up to the speed required for 60. So I need to run these out. So 9.5 times 3, 1. So 9 times 3 is 27. Divided by 5. We're talking 5.4 to 1. So do 60 divided by 5.4. So we're talking I need 11 RPS off my engines in order to I need 11 RPS off the engines to get, make sure this is all right. Let me check this. That doesn't make sense to me. All right, so here's my turbines. I need to check my turbines. Okay, here are my turbines. They're coming through. Yeah, so here's another one here. So I was like, there's no way it's that low. I went super high on the run on this. So let's see. So 9 times 3 is 27 times, what's this? 3. So times 3 divided by 5. So I have a 16 to 2 gear ratio on this. 16.2. 16.2 to 1. So I need to do 60 divided by 16.2. That is 3.7 RPS. So I need to check this really quick. Let me see. Where's my RPS? I might be over stressing them, so I have to check that out. What RPS am I running? RPS right here. Let's plug that in to here. So I need at least 3.7 RPS, or I'm probably not going to have enough rotor rotation, so I might actually need to de-stress the engines a little bit. So let's check them out. But it makes me suspicious that it was running fine before, but I think what's happening is I think my collective and my roll are now overacting, and so I'm putting so much load in the engine because the my pitch and roll and collective are all going, and so it's putting too much load in the engines. So I need to read this. So alright, so you see how low these engines run? The problem is when I put rotors all the way up, let's see if I can spool up. So I'm not able to spool up, so that's fine. So I need, what do I need, 3.7? 3.7. Alright, so let's do this. Excuse me there, flicky camera. So what I'll do is, let's just try to do this here. Let's go in here. Where's my turbine control? Right here, okay. Alright, so this 2.5 here is my minimal RPS, and I want to go to, let's go 4. Because my blades are not turning fast enough, but I'll have to see. I'm just gonna light up 1 and see what it does now with So, just giving it a higher idle, essentially. I have to work on another throttle system here in a second. There we go, 3.7, almost on the dot. Okay, let's try that and see if, let's go up a little bit higher, maybe. So let's go, let's do 4.5. And then I need to change the way I'm throttling these engines or else I'm going to have problems. So the way that, I'll show you how Chickadee does it. Chickadee does it the way I want. So essentially I use my up-down for both collective when I'm in VTOL mode, and I also use it for the throttle when I'm in horizontal mode. And so, like, a lot of people were trying to, they were struggling with that in the challenge. I know that, so. 4, 5, okay. Did I do all 4 of them? I can't remember now. I know I did that one. I think I did all 4 of them. I just want to double check. Nope, this one I didn't do. Okay. So that's essentially, that's RPS idle. I guess I did put it on the outside here. Didn't do this one either. Okay. So all these need to be like 4.5 there. Okay. All right, and then so like on Chickadee, the way Chickadee works is, so when the rotors are up on Chickadee, essentially on Chickadee my minimal my idle is 10, and the reason for that is it's a 6-to-1 gear ratio on the props, so that will give me about a 60 RPS on the rotors at idle, and that will allow me to do vertical flight. Once I go forward, I can then start to increase thrust. And so right here, what's that, rotors? What's going on here? This is likely screwed up because I moved panels on Chickadee, so that's probably why this has got screwed up. All right. Let's try it like this, and then I'll see what I also have to do. Sometimes a pain converting things over because it's like they all have their own like little peculiarities and what they need to do. Yeah, and I'm taking engines from a regular fixed wing trying to make it a VTOL, so the engines work fine, but they're commanded, they're not expected to operate vertically, so. Go. Like IRL, of course, a turbine would do better vertically because it doesn't really matter. Like you're not gonna have oil problems with the turbine vertical. You will have problems with a reciprocating engine with the turbines being vertical, so. Alright, so this is going to have some issues with that just being a really high idle for travel, but I can decrease the prop pitch for that. Alright, so I'm having collective issues, I think. Okay, so my current prop system is screwed up because of this, so I have to fix the prop system. I had to do this on Chickadee. So it's gonna slow, it's increasing the collective and it's slowing down my engines too much, so I need to fix that. Alright, so I need to look at alright, let's see what we're doing here. Being a little obnoxious. Let's try something really quick here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that really quickly. So let's go in here. And I need to find the collective. So here's collective. All right, so I have collective coming in. I have prop pitch coming in. And then I have this. I get rid of that. All right, so I need to check my formula here. So essentially, I'm clamping the value, and then this first argument here is all to get x. So it's going to be, so to find x, it's going to be d times x. So x is if my rotors are less than 45 degrees, it's going to be 1. So it's d, so it is x. Let's see, where's d? D is right here. So it's prop pitch times, so this is wrong now. Okay. That is wrong now. Yeah, this is going to be screwed up now, so I got to fix it. So I want this to be, if this is greater than, okay. So that's part of my issue here. So my prop pitch is the d times x, and x is now wrong. So I need to fix that. And so this isn't too bad. I can take this, Control CB. Okay. So if it is not less, i.e. greater than that, that's going to go up. And then this will go down. This will now go to X. That will work for that. So that'll be prop pitch there. Next one's collective. So collective is up, down. That is going to be Bravo. Bravo times Whiskey. Whiskey is here. Whiskey's good there. Okay. So that fits as that. That's fine. All right. So this is just essentially, it's converting that when I'm in airplane mode, I want to use the prop setting from the normal airplane mode prop setting. When I'm in helicopter mode, I want to use the collective. And this will get rid of collective when I'm in plane mode. This will give me prop when I'm in plane mode. So that's what that is all about. And that should work. Yeah, that should work. All right. Alrighty, so the whole reason I do this is so I can use different engines from different stuff. Alright, so that should work fine now, hopefully. Alright. Let's try it. Catch up on some chat while I'm doing my startup here. It's tough to... If I lose my train of thought too much, it's tough, so I kind of have to focus a little bit. Which makes interactive chat challenging at times. All right, let's see where we are. So essentially, I was having no collective control, and I was having prop control when I didn't want it. So. All right, so let's read some chat here. I'm way behind. Yeah, I forget what it was. This was like 20 years ago when I did it, when I was flying twins. But you know, it was at the university I went to. You know, it was where I learned multi-engine. Get out of the way there, chickadee. I don't have time for your nonsense. All right, there we go. Let's go up. All right, AP. There we. I'm straining the engines out. I gotta watch my RPS here. Alright, so likely what I'm doing is I'm likely overstressing my engines, which sucks. So a 16:1 gear ratio. Let's take this one here. Now let's chop this down to a 1:1. So this is gonna be a mess here. 1:1. So there's a good chance here with doing it just like this. I'm gonna over rev my props, but I'm making my props do too much work. And that is causing them, as soon as I start to do collective, it doesn't have the strength to move the props at a 16:1 gear ratio. You know, so I need to consider that. Yeah, like $450 an hour, you can imagine, like, it's just not worth it sometimes. Yeah, it's very prohibitively expensive to run a twin like that, you know? Like, I'm gonna have to go do some flight training here, or get current again. And so to get current, I'm gonna need to go rent an airplane, but hopefully it shouldn't take me too long to get current again. I'm thinking maybe 10 hours to do all my approaches and landings and stuff and get current. Alright. So every time I was increasing the collective there, it was causing the engines to have too much strain on them. What am I stuck on now? Okay. And so the engines would slow way down. So, and I was losing all my ability to, you know, I was losing all my thrust. So there we go. Alright, don't go crazy here. So a lot of the sensitivity issues I just need to work on here. But I'm gonna let go. I have the auto hover and the gyro on. I'm just gonna let it stabilize. So yeah, it looked like I had way too much, you know, the gearing was at a 16:1 gear ratio. So I really like the way the belly paint came out. It was at a 16:1 gear ratio, so it was overstressing the engines. When I went on collective, I was using so much collective that it was causing it to essentially slow the engines down too much. All right, let's go forward to a 45. All right, there's 57 knots. So this is about where we can operate as an airplane. So I'm gonna start bringing the speed up. All right, it's not happy. It stalled out, so it was, let's see. I know what happened, I just need to fix it. Fuel weight's not going to be a big deal. It's going to go center of gravity in the belly right here, so I have plenty of space for it. It's going to go in the center in the belly. I'm not concerned about fuel weight. Can I get rid of this chickadee without being a pain in the ass? I think I probably can. All right. Get rid of a bunch of this junk. I have to bang through all this junk. I left it here in case I was going to use any of it, and I'm pretty much to the point where I don't need it anymore, so I'll get rid of some junk. Just making it hard for me to spawn this in every time. So what happens, I have this problem a little bit with the chickadee, is when I transition from forward flight to vertical flight, it is essentially chopping the thrust on me. Alright. Now we're just down to this. Let's save it. I haven't saved it in a while. So the thrust is up. Let me check the seat. Up, down needs to be reset 100%. That's fine. Okay. All right, so I need to calculate the new gear ratio and figure out. All right, so right here is minimum prop pitch right there. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's do a horizontal takeoff. I need to check out the prop pitch here. And so we'll just go and I'll stick it in. We'll do this one here. Just get rid of some of the other ones here. Actually, I wanted that RPS gauge up there. What are we running here? RPS still. Let's get the RPS on this. All right, so we have RPS and we have prop pitch on here. I want to see what prop pitch I need to take off with this new gear ratio. Every time you change a gear ratio, you have to deal with it. So the problem is this is going to be a lot less efficient than I like if it's running, not running at 16:1 gear ratio. I could theoretically shift gears when I change modes, but that's going to cause me problems. So what am I running now? I went to a 1, so it's a, what is it, 5.4? Let's see, 9 times 3 is 27, divided by 5, yeah, 5.4. We're running a 5-to-4 gear ratio, so I need a minimum of, so I'm looking at like an RPS of 10 is what I want. Okay. Because I want to keep the rotors around 60 when I'm in vertical flight. So what's happened is once I transition to forward flight, you notice my speed went whipping down. And off. What I have to do in Chickadee is I give it some power when I do that. I need to solve this problem in Chickadee. So it could be the propeller pitch is not enough when it's at that area, so I need to check all that. So I'm just gonna do like a, let's do a, I'm gonna do an airplane takeoff here. Because this is gonna probably struggle a little bit. So my prop pitch is at 0.12, so I need to figure out what the appropriate prop pitch is gonna be. All right, so this has to go way up. So I'm at, let's see where I'm at. So I'm running at 14 RPS, and you notice we're barely moving. So I'm starting to increase the prop pitch. And I need to see when we get appreciable speed run here. So that's about a 0.48 is probably minimum for me. So 0.48, because I decreased the gear ratios. Okay, that's fine. All right, good. So let me try to increase the gear ratio. So 16:1 is not happening. Let's go up again. Let's try a 2:1. So that is now a 10.8:1. Because I don't want to kill my efficiency either. All right. This is one of the pains where, like, when you try and do stuff like this and they don't have any base where I can spawn this outside, I could keep editing an add-on and spawn it outside to do testing with it, but it's kind of a pain that I have to taxi it out every time for testing purposes. So essentially what was happening initially was my gear ratio was a 16:1, essentially, for the props. So when I was in vertical flight mode, I would give it, so like to put that into perspective, if it's a 16:1 gear ratio, and my takeoff RPS is 14. It'd be 14 times 16. That gives my propellers were rotating at 224 RPS. And so when I was in the Albatross can take off, you know, would be taken off with the propellers going at 224 RPS. What's going on? Why am I stuck here? Okay, I was just stuck on that lip. And so the problem is when I decrease the rotor RPS, because I decreased the gear ratio, I was down to a 5, and so a 0.12 propeller pitch is not enough at, you know, 5 times 14, whatever that is. So 5 times 14, 70. So it was not enough prop pitch at 70, so when I transition from vertical to forward, it is causing an issue where the engines are essentially, you know, stalling out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this one. This looks good so far. So I'm able to fly vertically, and now I need to transition to horizontal flight and see if it's going to behave. Like, I don't even have my gyro on, so there's gyro on. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start to transition to forward flight, so we're just going to go to 45. Alright, and it completely zoinked me out there. If it lands on its belly, I can keep testing. Fucker. It's gonna act the fool that it's upside down now. But okay, so it looks like. So let's try something here. I should be able to fix this a little bit. So what I need to do is go in the propeller systems, like so. And let's change these to 0.5s for now. What am I in? What panel am I in? Okay, I'm in the engine panel. Alright, so I need to find my prop pitch here, which is right here. What's going on here? I should hook in the AGL to everything, too. Where's my prop pitch being commanded here? Alright, here it is right here. Okay, so the bottom value of my prop pitch is right here. So it's giving me a minimum prop pitch of 0.12. That's just not going to be enough right now. So let's try a point. Try 0.3. Ah. What did I do here? 0.3, okay. So minimum prop pitch, I'm going to change to 0.3 because the rotors are no longer turning 16:1 gear ratio. And so 16:1, a 0.12 is plenty of prop pitch. Now I'm at a, what the hell am I at? A 10.8. That's not enough. So I'm not taking a big enough bite out of the air. So when I convert to forward flight, it's giving me a prop pitch that is too small to be able to actually take a bite out of the air. And at 16:1, it's overstressing my engines. They just can't produce enough thrust for vertical flight. So I need to configure it where essentially I'm decreasing the gear ratio so the propeller is turning slower. And because the propeller is turning slower, I need to take a bigger bite out of the air to still get enough thrust to keep moving forward. So. Wrong way. Wrong way. Go up, please. Thank you. Gyro on. Alright, so here we are. Vertical mode's working. Alright, pitch works, roll works, yaw work. I'll test. Roll's a little bit too sensitive. I need to work on that, but okay, yaw's working fine. Okay, good. So that's licked. All right, so now I need to start to transition forward. I'm gonna go to get moving here. I just want to watch the 50% line. All right, so I've pushed them forward, and I'm starting to speed up. All right, now I need to push it forward. I need to watch my speed. If my speed comes down, it's not. Okay. So that looked bad, but it's fine. What happened was it kicked the props forward too fast. So I need to go vertical, see if I can fix this. If I can save this, we're going to be in good shape here. If not, fucker. It's starting to do the thing where it's the props are stronger than the pivots. All right. All right, so I need to do another test here. And so this is the test I need to do. I need to go back to 0.12s. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off horizontally. And I'm going to see what prop pitch I need horizontally. So, and once I know that, I can set that, because what happened was it put in too much prop pitch. As soon as I went forward, it then slammed in prop pitch, and it made me do a front flip essentially. So. All right, so we're going to take off like an airplane. And so we're going to look at my prop pitch. That's my RPS. This is my prop pitch of 0.12. So this is likely not enough prop pitch for me to take off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to bring back my prop with my 2 key. And that will increase the blade pitch. And it will tell me what blade pitch I need. Because like I'll be able to go full throttle on this, and it won't be enough bite. And then so I'm going to bring back 2, and I'm going to see what I can use. So I'm going to put on AP just for stability's sake. You all the way forward. You're all the way forward. Okay. Problem is it takes a while to test this sort of stuff. All right, so going full throttle, and I need to start bringing the prop pitch back to get some speed. There we go, it's coming back. Okay, so I want about 60 to 70 knots. Just fly, you ding-dong. Come on, fly, 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 fly. Don't act like an asshole. Fuck. Let's make it testing hard here. Just reading some chat. No, I have no issue with fuel. The fuel weight and container weight is going to be fine. All right, let's see. All right, let's save this really quick here. All right, I'm going to turn this into an add-on so I can quickly spawn it, and just, I'm sick of taxiing out. It's taking up too much time. Let's see. I'm going to go to Dre More. I'm going to add the whale on the runway. I'm going to rotate it. So I'm just going to get this aimed correctly and where it needs to be on the runway. That way I don't have to keep taxiing this out. All right. Save it as airship. We'll load it, airship, and then I'll test the location, and then that's going to be sitting out here. And I can just get out of here, hopefully. So this will save me some taxi time, because I need to figure out what my prop's gonna be. Like, it's already a pain to start up all my engines. All right, let's go ahead and park brakes off. These are going full forward. I want to go full throttle. Parking brake actually off. I have 2 parking brakes. I have to fix the other ones wrong. All right, so I need to gently start bringing this prop back until I get about my rotation speed. There we go. So about 0.2 is working. Why are we pitching like a... I gotta check to see what's up with my pitch. Alright, so I'm having pitch authority issues because I put a bunch of fins in the front. I bet you that's part of the issue here. I know I'm there. Let me call... Oh, it's an add-on. That's why. I was gonna say. Okay. So I have an idea what's going on with this. I have a bunch of fins in here that I don't think are doing me any favors right now. Let's get rid of those for now. I need to work on my horizontal tail plane here. It's a little bit too much sweep on there, I think. We'll see how it turns out. Run out of space here because I'm like right at the limits of the workbench here. This also fits with the whale theme a little bit better, too, having a big tail on it. I need a lot of pitch authority on my tail here, so... Where is it? All right. There. Okay. What are we missing there? 1, 2, 2 off? Okay. that instead. I don't need anything else on there. Alright, so there's my whale's tail. Wish we could color the bottom side of these these control surfaces a little bit different color. Can't do it. It's have to be blue on the bottom, which is kind of gross. I wish I could make them gray on the bottom. Alright, so give it that. And so right now what I have is I have these working as pitch and these working as pitch. I just want these rolls right now. That's what I want. So let's get these fixed. Control surfaces. Okay, so let's ding dong with this. Where's pitch? Alright, so that's just going to do roll. Update that. And then where is my gyro pitch? Let's do a quick control check here. Okay. Alright, good. They're the right direction. Getting obnoxious having to start the engines like 900 times because I have 4 engines. It starts. This is where the testing gets to be a pain in the ass. I gotta go. Citrus, we'll see you later. We'll see you later there, FS. I still have fins in there, he said. Now they're gone. Yeah, they're gone. Up there. Okay, they're there. Thank you. I have the, didn't delete the other fins, so we're going to have a roll issue if we don't get rid of that. There we go. Alright. Oh, okay, Arya, I got you, Citrus. Excellent, yep. Alright, so let's do this. It's going to take me just as long, I think, to edit the add-on to do it out there, but... Friggin' thing's throwing me all over the panel here. It's gonna take a while to balance these control surfaces and everything, but... I usually don't like taking off with the gyro on, so we won't. Okay. Let's do that. If I don't like doing it, don't do it. All right, so we have a nice big whale's tail in there, which I actually prefer it anyway, and we're just gonna do roll with the ailerons now. I didn't mean to do this. Let's go full forward like that. And I need to start bringing my prop back to get some more bite. So we're looking at about a 0.17, maybe a 0.15. I can make that work. All right, so now you see I have much better control pitch-wise. Doing a more. I had to move the rear fins forward, and it gives me a very short lever arm. I don't know if my roll... Okay, my roll sensitivity is a little on the low side, so now we're flying well. So... Alright, good. So, a little bit slow in the roll on the fins, on the... And so the other thing I can do is add flaps on those main surfaces. I'd have to move the engines out a little bit, but that's potentially something I can do. So what I need to do here next is I want to put my nose on the horizon. So let's check this. So 0.17 is now my minimal prop value. All right, so I need to put my nose on the horizon, and I need to trim. So I need to trim. All right, so let's see where we're at here. And so what I want to do is trim like I would a real airplane. Again, a lot of people make wooden controllers that just like constantly try to keep you at your last position. That's not how it really works. So we're going to trim to level. I'm going to take my hands off the controls. All right, we're still going nose up. I'm going to trim some more. So as you notice, I need a ton of tail up trim. So by putting just some fins, not even like actuating, just fins in the tail, it's going to add lift to the tail. So my tail could use some lift, essentially is what I'm saying. And so I threw some of the flight dynamics off too. You notice now the rear engines are higher than the fronts. So that that changed some flight dynamics that I had to play with. All this you can do, you know. It's like it's funny. People with like no flight experience, no understanding in aerodynamics and aviation, will comment about how, you know, how this or that is unrealistic. And it's like, no, they do this all the time. They put raise engines, but they have to account for it, and you have to do it in game as well. And that's part of the thing is, a lot of these building games, they cheat it for you. And you know, I don't know about Simple Planes, but like say Simple Planes, for example, they might make it, you know, I guess Simple Planes does have center of thrust and everything, center of gravity, but some games will cheat that where it doesn't matter, you can put the engine wherever you want, and then people wonder why their build doesn't work. It's because that's how they learned, you know. So it makes some sense, you know. So I like the new tail too. The tail came out nicely. So it's flying pretty well, but again, if we notice, I need to put in an absolute buttload of pitch down trim. So I'm having to lift the tail up. And so what I'll do is put some fins in the back. They won't articulate, but that will give me some lift. So it's a way to kind of, you know, fake some lift where you need it. And then you can make it fly how you want. All right, so I'm going to play with this. So I'm at full thrust. Full thrust. All right, and now I'm going to start bringing my prop back, and I'm going to check max speed. My roll is definitely a little anemic. Okay, so this is interesting. I'm climbing like a maniac here. You see what's up. So I have to have a ton of nose down just to maintain level. That's interesting. So like I have to do like 20 degrees nose down and not climb. That is interesting to me. It could be because of that tail is out of whack here. Definitely my roll needs to be, I need to increase the roll. That's not enough roll. So I need to lift the tail with some finnage. Trying to see what max speed is here. I don't need and I don't want blazing fast speed on this. What I want is a reasonable speed. Like I'll go 150, we're doing 162. I'm happy with that. It's pretty efficient. We're not ultra efficient, but we're pretty efficient. And because this plane's going to do a lot of work, I don't want this thing to be so OP. I want it to be realistic. I want to have realistic profit margins on it. I want to be able to take like 4 containers up to the Arctic and have reasonable profit margins. I don't want it to be like 300 knots. 160, like this plane would have so much drag IRL because it's just such a big surface that it, you know, it should have, it should be reasonably slow. It's like the Super Guppy. It doesn't have a fast speed because a super fast speed because you're just pushing. You have so much drag, and so I don't want this thing to be unreasonably, you know, unrealistically efficient. So like, see right here, I have like a negative 15 degree pitch angle or else I climb. That's pretty nuts. And part of it, I think, is that tail is giving me a bunch of lift. So what I could actually do is zero out my other control surface as well. So I've got some things to do here that will fix this. All right, good. But we're making some progress. So we found out the 0.17 gives us a really good, it gives us a really good horizontal takeoff. So what I want to do is change these 0.12s to 7s. So that was what that test was about, is I need to figure out what is my minimum prop pitch, so that when I convert from vertical flight to horizontal flight, it will send my blades to 0.17, so that I will, if I'm going about 50 or 60 going forward, then or you know, at a 45 degree angle, as soon as I go to a 0 degree angle, it will change these up, so I still do about the same speed. And that could probably even be a little bit lower. All right, so that's set. Let's save. Did I do all 4? I did all 4. Okay, save this. A lot of this is so much duplication. I just have to save, do all 4 engines. Like, this is when, like, a big plane becomes more of an issue because it's like I have to do a lot more work now. All right, so that's all set. Then what I want to do is I need some lift in the tail because, like I was saying, you know, I have to add that lift with my trim. That's way too much. So all I'm going to do is put some fins in back here, and they're just going to be. They're not going to actually articulate. I'm not going to move them. They're just going to sit back here, and that will give me some lift. Can that go? That can't go. Okay. So let's add in some fins here. Come on, give me a fin. There we go. And so there we go. We have 3 fins in the back there. I'm just going to delete these 2 and move them here. Just so they're all in line with one another. All right, they're not going to articulate. They're just there to add a little extra lift in the tail. And the hope there is instead of me having to trim like crazy on my tail, for pitch trim, like pitch trimming 60% is insanity. Like you pitch trim a very small amount IRL. So like I want to be able to like maybe pitch to like 0.1 up, 0.1 down. And so that's going to add a lot of drag because the control surface is adding a lot of drag once they go past like a certain amount. And also the problem is if I have to pitch my nose down that much, I can't really, eventually I run out of control surface, and this has happened in real life where you'll eventually run out of control surface. And so you definitely don't want to do this. So now as you can see it's starting at 0.17, so let's try a vertical flight. So we'll go to 45. The other benefit of having a plane like this is, you know, like somebody was asking, am I going to be able to take off with max weight? I think it was FS. And I shouldn't have a problem with it anyway, but the other thing is, like, you'll notice a lot of, like, VTOLs, like F-35s, you'll have Harriers, that they would take off, they would do a rolling takeoff, and they would put their thrust at, like, 45 degrees because they can carry a lot more weight if they're using their wings to help with lift. So, like, I can take off with more weight if I go at 45 degrees than if I was to go vertical. Because my engines are doing 100% of the lifting in this case. If I go at 45, the wings are helping me. Why am I not taking off now? Okay, what's up now? Okay, so I think I need to put a clamp on my collective because I can give it too much collective and overstress it and it slows the engines down. I need to keep an eye on that. So I need to clamp that out. Alright, so now what we need to do is start to transition to forward flight. So I'll go to like a quarter, a little more than a quarter there. Alright, so we need to watch our speed here. So my speed, I'm looking at like about 70 knots is where this starts to fly well. So I want to get that transition in for 70 knots. So there's 50, let's go to 45. There's 60 knots, let's start going up a little bit more. This is, again, why I don't want to go have a VTOL mode. I want to push my rotors as fast as I need to. If I had a headwind, this actually works in game. If I had a headwind and I have wind blowing at me, I could theoretically, so like if my rotation speed's 70 and I have a 30 knot headwind, I only need to make 40 knots of forward progress and the wind is helping me take off. And so if I have a tailwind and the wind is 30, I now need to go essentially 100 knots to make that up, essentially. And so that's why I like to be able to change my angle manually, is it's all dependent upon the wind. So I don't necessarily, so like if I have a tailwind, I want that to come in slower, you know, than if not. Let's see what we're looking at here. I'm still climbing like a crazy person. Why does this thing have way too much lift? All right, so let's do a trim test again, see if those fins in the back have done much. Alright, so it wants to climb like crazy. I don't know why it's climbing so crazily. Like, it's climbing like a maniac, dude. I might have to do like a little prop pitch down or something. Okay, that tail stuff made it worse, man. That made it worse. Like, I literally can't get the nose down now. That's interesting. Okay, interesting. That's interesting. I was hoping it would take over the burden of that, but... So there's two things I could do. One, so I needed a ton of down pitch on this to raise the tail. The other thing is I can... It's not realistic, but again, you know, what I'm doing is accounting for the game's inaccuracies with aerodynamics and lift and whatnot. So what I could do is I could put fins in the front, and I can command them. So what I'll do is this, opposite to the tail. So if tail is solid down, I need solid ups in the front. And so this will essentially be giving me more, give me more pitch authority. And it's not realistic, but it's what it has to be, you know, to work right. So, you know, you see a lot of people that complain about this. They'll be like, oh, this isn't realistic, or oh, this is that. You can complain about it, or you can, you know, the benefit is this. You know, there's a bunch of people in the community, in the negative section of the community, who will complain that the game is not realistic enough, at the same time complaining about things like, you know, and they'll complain about other things, but the problem being this: if the game was 100% realistic to real life, it would take you months to test your vehicles. And you would need to have, for example, you know, you'd need to have real-life aviation experience like I do in order to ever make an airplane. And so part of the game being a little bit unrealistic, it allows people to be able to not have to have a degree in engineering or a degree in aeronautical science to be able to build an airplane. And so that's part of the benefit. You know, one of the reasons why the wheels slip all the time is, you know, the wheels will slip if you're in too high of a gear. In real life, you'd stall your engine. So a new player would come in and never be able to make a car work if the game was too realistic. And so I think that's, like, you know, that's one of the reasons why the game has some of these inaccuracies in it. But the great part about this game is we have all the tools we need. Did I plug those in? Citrus, did I plug those front ones in? I can't remember, and I don't want to have to start the engines again. And so, for example, like, if I want to fix my aerodynamics of this, very simple. I just add some fins, and it works. You know, and that's the thing that is the benefit of this, too, is I can do things like add little fins to my airplane and make it work. You know, where if I didn't do that, you know, if you didn't have that, you know, you would have to live with a super realistic simulator. If this game was 100% realistic to physics, guess what? We wouldn't have a big whale flying in the air. We would have ships that could never be built the way you want. I think it's working. Yeah, I think they're working. So, but that's kind of, you know, the whole thing is like, there's kind of a saying of, you want to, you know, you want to bring it to realism and then dial it back to fun. And you would need to have a lot of experience in these things. Like, for example, you see how I do some of my transmissions, and my wheels almost never smoke and spin. And that's because I get the transmissions within like 0.01 of the real transmission ratios. And if the game didn't have some of the wheel slippage that we have, you would have to do that, or else your engine would constantly stall. And so, like, you know, that is a benefit in there to make it so that you can have a transmission that's not perfect and still be able to play, essentially. Yeah, see, like, I still have to go way nose down. Like, this is not unprecedented. You know what I bet a bunch of this is? I bet a bunch of this is these control surfaces here are adding lift. What I can do is I can put... See how they're not in line with the 45, with the 1x4s? What I'll do is I'll make the center position of these. I'll make these give me a little bit of down. But notice, because I put those front fins in, I'm going to trim this out. We're actually still way trimmed. Never mind. I thought that was going to help. Let me see if it's helping or not. I can't really see. Oh, this container's not doing me any favors either. Let's get rid of this container and see what that could be causing a physics problem too. Yeah, so a bunch of like the gamification of this will make it easier. You know, because again, you know, the people calling for ultra realism, one, I think some of those people, I think a lot of the people know what they're talking about, but some of the people just don't know what they're talking about, and they would hate it if it was actually realistic, because they would really have to, like, you'd have to spend, you know, 40 hours going and listening to some lectures on, you know, on physics and engineering to be able to even start playing, you know, and you don't need that, because that little bit of that gamification of it makes it approachable. So kind of what I'm saying. All right, let's check these. Okay, they're plugged in. All right, good, we're plugged in there. All right, so I got rid of that container. The container was just kind of free floating in there. It didn't attach. I thought it was attached, and sometimes that can cause issues, so I need to check on that. All right, let's paint it. Okay. Thanks, Owl. Yeah, I'm glad you... Yeah, I like the eyes. The eyes came out good. They have little eyebrows on them, too. See, I wish I could light them up, but I'm not going to be able to light them up. One thing I could do is I might be able to cave those eyes in and put in... I can't put a window segment in there. I was going to try to do something and maybe light them, but I don't know. So it's like, for example, I was playing Star Citizen the other day, and, you know, naturally what I would do, and, you know, like, I had people arguing with me in that I didn't know anything about aviation, but, you know, back in the day. So, like, one thing is when you bank in an airplane, the upwind wing, the one that's higher, is going faster than the downwind wing, and that's what actually causes you to turn. And it's very comfortable because the G-forces are going right through the floor, so our bodies have evolved to work upright, of course, right? Because we're on a planet with gravity, and so our blood works in a way that we have gravity working on it. And so we're comfortable and we're used to that. And then it is very... What the hell's going on here? Okay. It's very uncomfortable for us to... And we literally cannot function sometimes. What is going on here? The brakes on? Our bodies, you know, sometimes cannot even function if we don't have that gravity on us. What is going on here? Oh, I'm in reverse. Okay, there we go. If we don't have gravity working on us. And so, for example, God damn it, I'm getting confused here because this isn't working at all. Why am I not moving? What the hell's going on here? There we go. My wheels were stuck for a second. Okay. So, anyway. So, like, when you make a turn in an airplane, you call it you want a coordinated turn. So this is a turn slip gauge. And so you notice the ball. The ball should always be in the center. You want to step on the ball. So if the ball's to the right, you step on the right rudder. Ball left, step on the left rudder. And that, essentially, the ball is gravity. There's a cell in here with alcohol, and the ball just floats in there. And wherever the gravity is where the ball is going. And so if the ball goes off the left, you're sitting in your seat, well, it's going to feel like you're leaning off to your left because gravity's pulling you to the left. It's very uncomfortable. If the ball goes to the right, you're sitting in the right of your seat, it feels uncomfortable because your body has not evolved just to be at a constant right angle. Your body has evolved to be up and down. So it's very comfortable if the ball's in the center, you're sitting straight down in your seat. And so when you bank an airplane, we'll actually get moving here. I can explain a little bit better. Alright, so the transition is really good now. There we go. Alright, so now we're already in forward flight here. Perfect. See how smooth and nice it is? It's working really well. So when you're flying like this, the way you would do it in real life is as I bank, that upwind wing, the high wing, wants to go faster than the downwind wing, which is the right wing, and that's going to turn us to the right. And we coordinate that with rudder. So we would add, in this case, I need to trim in a little rudder. We step on the ball. I'm going to put the ball in the center like so. All right, that keeps the gravity straight down. And so if you're like flying in an airliner, you'll feel like you're constantly in your seat. If you had a if you didn't have a professional pilot and you had a brand new pilot, new pilots love to not coordinate the plane, and for flight instructors, it's the most maddening and frustrating thing because it constantly feels like we're falling out of our seat. And so, like, if you were my student and we were on like our first flight, I would be like, ball, step on the ball, and you'd be like, what? And I'd be like, see this ball? Step on the ball. And then later you'd be like, coordinate your turn. You know, and then I would be like, are we coordinated? Are we coordinated? Are we coordinated? Are we coordinated? And you drill it in your student's mind is, I always want to be coordinated. If you're not coordinated, you're going to deal with me, the grouch. And the reason is, as a flight instructor who has, you know, had a lot of time flying, you know how to coordinate your turns, and if you weren't coordinated, you always felt like you were falling out of your seat, and it was miserable. And so naturally, as a flight instructor or as somebody with some flying experience, as you turn to the right, you're going to want to, you know, you're naturally going to step on the ball. And so we're going the right, the ball is going to go to the right, I'm going to step on my ball. So we're going to go right like that. And so I'm coordinating my turn, and guess what? It feels like you're sitting straight in your seat, and you could be at a 60-degree angle, you could be at a 90-degree angle, and it feels like you're just falling straight down in your seat and you're comfortable. You don't feel like you're falling out of your seat. You know, and so that's something that, like, in a game like Star Citizen, so the whole thing that brought this comment up is the nice thing with Stormworks is I can make my craft behave exactly like I want. So, for example, I have systems in the game where as I turn, realistically what would happen is, again, it's going to actually feel like I'm adding some rudder to turn me. And so what I do is it's almost like an auto rudder system, but what it's doing is it's simulating real life where as I turn left, it's going to be stepping on my rudder, giving me some left rudder, and that's going to give me a realistic turn. And so, you know, I make my craft operate this way in game. And that's the great thing is about this game is if you want that system, do it. If you don't want that system, don't do it. And so, like in Star Citizen, it doesn't do that. So I have to. It feels very unnatural to me. Even, you know, and so like some people in the Star Citizen community are like, oh, you know, you wouldn't do that in a spaceship. Like, yes and no. If you had artificial gravity, the artificial gravity would always be pulling you down, so you'd feel comfortable. If you didn't have artificial gravity, as you would want to be doing a banking turn and still using like a yawing effect, because that would always keep you plastered to the floor. And so like more like, say, the Expanse, that would keep you always plastered to the floor and comfortable. And so long rant on that of just, you know, the importance of like try to keep your gravity where it should be. Just reading some chat here. Airbus Beluga merges with the Airbus Beluga manages 780 kilometers an hour. No, there aren't any real VTOL big cargo planes. Is that so the tailwinds can be super dangerous since the air isn't going under the wings for lift? Tailwinds are never super dangerous. Tailwinds, well, it depends. Tailwinds add to your takeoff distance, let's put it that way. For a specific airplane, you need a specific, essentially, speed of air over your wings in order to maintain lift. So let's say Cessna 172 rotation speed is what, 65? So if you had a headwind that was 30 knots in a Cessna 172, you would effectively, your ground speed, your speed over the ground for when you take off, would now be 35. So your ground speed would be 35, your airspeed would be 65, and you take off, and that's great because your ground speed is only 35 knots. You could have a really short runway and take off with a good headwind. If you had a 30-knot tailwind, well, now your Cessna 172, your ground speed is going to be 95 knots, and your airspeed is still going to be 65 knots. So it's not dangerous, but you now see that the difference between if I take off into the wind, which that's why they switch runways at airports, is you always want to be taking off into the wind. And so the difference between taking off either end of the same runway is my ground speed is either going to be 35 knots or it's going to be 95 knots. And so if you're going 95 knots, you need a longer runway. If you're going 35 knots, you need a much shorter runway. And so now that you're landing, same thing. If I'm coming in to land, in order to land on the Cessna 172, I think approach speed's like 70 knots in a 172. So if you're coming in at 70 knots, you now have to, if you have a headwind, you're subtracting your headwind. So you're coming in with a 30-knot headwind, your ground speed is now 40 knots. You're landing as though you're going 40 knots. If you're landing on the opposite end of the runway and you have a 30-knot tailwind, right, now you're touching down at 100 knots ground speed. So you need a much longer runway. And so it's not dangerous, but you need more runway. So let's talk like the Embraer 145. My approach speed was usually around 120 knots. So 30-knot tailwind, it's as though my approach speed, right, is 90 knots. If I'm landing with a tailwind of 30 knots, now it's like my approach speed is 150 knots. So you start to see, as you get into bigger airplanes, you might already be running into a situation where you don't have a lot of extra runway, and now you're having to, you're just eating up more runway, essentially. So like let's say you have an MD-80, not an MD-80, a DC-10 with like fully loaded, or a 7.4 fully loaded. That's going to have an absolutely enormous takeoff roll and landing roll if you have a big tailwind. I'm trying to say why this is so funky. This is going to need anti-flap, I think, to get me where I need to be here. Yeah, it's just like I need a lot of nose down to maintain level on this. Like I'm already at 67, 66, 70% just to maintain. I'm just bringing a little bit of thrust back. The other thing I could do here is I could, so what I'm doing is bringing the thrust up. I don't want to do that. I'm going to bring the thrust back a little on the engine. Now we'll see how it behaves. So it could use a little bit of prop pitch. I could add a little prop pitch on the props because, I need to account for the engines where they are in this. So I might put a little bit of negative. So there's two things I can do. One, I can center these fins here. I can center those so that they are, I'm trying to think how I want to do this. You know, part of the issue is just I have an unconventional fin arrangement here for my 4 engines. So I can see if I could do this with fins. One thing I might do, I don't know. It's weird having roll control up front. I think. So I'm fighting the lift in the nose, it seems. Let's try something. I'll play with this a little bit. So the way you would do CG in this and in real life is often what you'll have is, we'll actually put it in right now. Let's do it now. So it's going to change a little bit. I'll fix it later, but if I need to. So you'd have your center of gravity. You'd find your center of gravity. So for cargo planes, you'll often have this. And so you know where your CG is, and you have to worry about your CG envelope. So there's my CG is on this block. And so what you do is you would mark it. And so we're going to come to the center. We're going to find the CG, and we're going to go right above it here. And we're going to mark it. So the way you would do your cargo is this. If I run with one container, it would need to be centralized. if I run with, let's say I'm going to do 2 containers, I would put one here, I put one here. Or I put one here and here. And so you would set them up to manage your CG. And then you have what's known as a CG envelope. So essentially the way it's usually depicted on paper, but you would have your CG envelope. Let's say this is your CG envelope. All right. And so your CG can be anywhere within this envelope. So it pretty much can be anywhere within this envelope. So your CG can be anywhere in here, essentially. All right. And so what you would do is, if I put a container up into the front, it would be fine as long as it's within this envelope. So if I put a container in the front, as long as this bar doesn't go out of the CG envelope, we're good. If I could put a container in the back, and as long as the CG envelope is within the envelope, we're good. I could put one all the way over here. As long as it's within the envelope, we're good. As soon as it steps out of the envelope, we're in deep shit, because what's going to happen is, if the CG is outside of the envelope on this axis, that means that I do not have enough aileron to control my roll. That means I can go full deflection on my aileron, and I can't roll enough to fix the plane if it starts rolling over. And so that's bad news, of course. And so the same thing with your with forward and aft. So if I my CG envelope, if this is out of my CG envelope too far forward, I can push my elevators down as much or up as whichever direction I have to go, and I do not have enough elevator to control for this. And so you actually check this with your weight and balance, and you make sure that your CG is within the envelope. And so you'd have light things. So for example, like you know, your CG might move forward 1 block like that, or might move aft 1 block. And so what you do for a cargo plane is you mark the CG on this. And if I load a container in, ideally, I want to put it right here. And then if I put 2 in, I want to put one right here and one right there, or side to side. And so you always want to keep it balanced. So when I load this, if I'm loading 1 container, I want to try to get it as close to center as possible. If I'm loading 2, I could split them side there. If I'm loading 4, I want to put 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you try to get them as equidistant as possible. And as long as the center of gravity now stays within this envelope, you're good. So like if this was the envelope, and we take battle cannon pieces, you know, we can actually see in the editor now what it's going to look like. So you can start to see that this is starting to move my CG forward. And you could start to see that, you know, of course, I would have to go do a ton of testing to see what the real envelope looks like. So I would essentially go out there and fly and see. And we're actually very close to the CG envelope right now, because if you see how much I have to do down trim. So that's actually very simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add weight. And so the issue we're having is I have to trim my elevators down to lift the tail up. And so what I can do is I can also do that by putting in weight. So if we move these blocks forward, and we'll actually duplicate them. Let's do like 3 stacks. So now look at the CG. Is the CG within the envelope? As you can see, it's starting to get close to being out of the envelope. And so I don't know if that's actually where the envelope is, but we could make it worse by going like this. Come on, man. I'm clearly clicking on this one. There we go. Alright, so now you notice the CG is probably out of the envelope. CG is out of the envelope, we're screwed. So I'm actually going to fly with this. I need some weight in the front, so let's see. See how this flies with that weight sitting in the nose. You know, so that's important stuff to know in a cargo airplane. Is not pretty much any airplane, but like if you've ever had to move your seat in the airlines, because they'll tell you, you know, like we used to tell the flight attendant, I need one from A to C. And so A was the front section of the plane, B was the middle, C was the back. And so you'd say, I need one from A to C. So we're moving a passenger from the front to the back to change the CG. And we mainly just needed that for takeoff. There are a couple really horrific crashes I've seen videos of. One was a Caribou, and another one was a UPS 747. and the cargo let go and it went all the way to the back. And so the problem was that by putting that much weight in the back on rotation, it caused it so the plane couldn't put its nose down, and it went up and stalled and crashed. And so you have to be careful of stuff like that. That's why cargo is can be dangerous if it lets loose, because once the cargo lets loose, it's like my wheel. Did I take the brakes off? I did. I don't know why my brakes are sticking. It's as though my brakes are sticking here. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, let's go up. Autopilot. Okay. So we've got those battle cannon pieces in, and it's not liking it for vertical flight very much. We'll switch to horizontal and see how it behaves. I want to see how much weight. So this is another thing that people don't understand when they first start playing the game, and they think it's unrealistic, but it really is realistic. Is so right now I'm trying to diagnose and fix a problem. My problem is the plane is still lifting, and I need to use an incredible amount of elevator trim in order to keep us at level flight. I just fixed it with ballast, and this is something you actually do with planes, is you ballast the airplane. And so what we're going to do here is I'm going to put my pitch on the horizon again. I'm going to trim. And so I was at like 66% before, and all I want to do is get my VSI to 0. I'm thinking it has a lot to do with the control surfaces, so we'll have to see if that's what it is. I have an unconventional design here, so notice we're getting close here to trimming correctly. All right, we're trimmed out. Notice our VSI is on 0. All right, so putting that weight in the nose, I've been able to drop the trim by 0.16. So that ballast allowed me to essentially get the plane balanced a little bit better. So now I don't need as much trim to keep it down. Now I think the culprit is these front ailerons. I'm going to try to get rid of them and see what that does for me. Because it's kind of an unnatural thing. That is adding a lifting force to the front. I'm also going to get rid of the front, these front wings here. I'm going to do a couple things at once, which is not necessarily advisable, but I don't want to have to add this much ballast. So I'm going to cut out the ballast. So if you look where the center of gravity is, I'd like to get that center of gravity. If I can get that ahead of the wheels, I'm actually gold, because I can make this. I actually don't mind this as a tail dragger. I'd rather as conventional tricycle, but I'll see. But what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to get rid of these. And I'd like to run without those if I can. And I don't think I really need them, so. My roll is already a little anemic, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come in here and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to the seat. And where's my AD sensitivities? Down to 10. Let's go to 15 on that. What's it there? 20, that's fine. Okay, let's try that. Just a little anemic on roll. And I'm going to see if that fixes it. So, you know, this is where, having a little bit of aviation knowledge helps is, that could really annoy somebody who's not sure why it's doing it. And so it's it's essentially I have too much lift total in the airplane. And the reason is in the game, the control surfaces are giving you most of your lift. That's why you can add a couple fins and even not articulate them, and they still add a lot of lift. All right, so we had our trim down to 0.5. And so I want to see where we can get to here. So say I had this thing full of fuel and I had this full of containers, it would be best if I'm going to do a horizontal takeoff to take off at 45 degrees like this. And then I'm going to have to land vertically at, say, BVG, but it's something I could do. So we'll go vertical on this. We'll go AP. We'll take off. All right, so I have more roll authority in here on my seat. So already I can kind of feel I can roll a little bit better. So a little bit of flutter on the pitch, not a huge deal. I can fix that. in the gyro. All right, let's go ahead, start pushing forward. We'll go to 45. It's pretty resilient. I can kind of throw things around and it still behaves itself. Like I just went full forward in an instant, and no problem. All right, so I need to check this trim now. I'm hoping that killed some of that issue I'm having. It might have not actually. Let's see. Wow, dude. That's interesting. So I've got an idea as well, so let's do this. So I'm going to make the rears just, the rears are just going to be for roll. I have plenty of roll authority with just the 2. I'm going to actually add these back on. And I'm going to make them, I'm going to try to make them just pitch. Let's try that actually. Let's go. How many in were you? 2 off that? Okay. 2. I think we have 2 there, and then... Now, what are you? You are down, so we want these ups. Let's go like that. All right, let's hook these directly into pitch. So I run the autopilot through the gyro. That's the last step, and that way I can just go right to the control surfaces here. Because it's like that. I was at full elevator and I couldn't get my nose down, so. And that's again because the control surfaces are acting like big wings essentially in the plane, and I need essentially some anti-lift in the front, which I could add in more anti-lift in the front. Yep, glad that makes sense to you. Sit in your seat there, homunculus. Start the rears? I don't think I started the rears. You know, there are a bunch of issues you have with... There's a reason why planes don't put their engines like this, in this configuration. You know, there can be a bunch of issues with the way the aerodynamics work and everything, and so I tend not to want to do this. Alright, so here we go. Climbing, climbing, climbing. All right, we're gonna go to 50. So like I can really shock this. Like I sent them from, you know, I did 45 degrees in like less than a second, and it has no problem. It doesn't misbehave. All right, so we're having a little bit of roll issue right now. I don't know what that's all about. Let's go full forward here. Didn't invert the... So I might have to add the fronts back into the whole roll equation here. Just needs an absolute ton. Like it's lifting vertically almost. It's freaking weird. I bet it's to do with the prop pitch. There's something up with the pitch and the props that it's just like it's got us climbing up. Like you see, like insanity. Like if I go level, let's go let's go pitch level. You notice like that's my VSI. That's nuts. All right, so let's do something here. Got an absolute buttload of lift. I definitely need some roll back in here. Just better do this here. Let's try something here. Let's go. This got disconnected. Nope, that didn't. Okay. Starboard aft. Port aft. Port forward. Starboard forward, okay. Alright, then I'm gonna do this. I need a ton of down pressure on this sucker. Just having a big issue with too much lift here. These tend to be the most efficient for how much space they take up as well, so. Do I want to do this with the prop pitch? I don't know. Prop pitch is going to be screwy. I'm going to try it with this. Might be a mistake, but the prop pitch, I could try to edit it with the prop pitch. The issue being that then I have to do further complications to try to get to deal with the prop, because the prop is doing pitch when it's in vertical mode, and then it's not doing it when it's in horizontal mode. So I could add it as a horizontal mode addition. We'll try this first. I want to see what this looks like. If this works all right, we're good. If not, I'm going to screw with when I put the props forward. It's going to add a little bit of prop pitch to counteract that. So, that's the nice thing about having this game have so many options and being so configurable is if you're having a problem, there's like 10 solutions to fix it. Like I can do the prop pitch, I can add some fins, I can do all these things to try to fix this. It takes a while to figure it out. That's where a lot of people get frustrated, but the nice thing is you can get it fixed at some point. Alright, so we'll try this. So this is... Did I set a value of 1 in there? I hope I did. I'm going to go down there and check it, seeing that we're stuck on something right now anyway. Nope. Bastard. Okay. I forgot to set in the value. I do that all the time. Alright, so those are going to be pointed down. That's going to drop the lift of the nose on me. Okay. So if I can either drop the nose or I can lift the tail. The lifting the tail wasn't working great. Dropping the nose is a better solution. Startup procedure just takes forever. It's flying pretty well. It's just, that's the only issue I'm really having. Once that issue's done, man, we're in really good shape. Give it a little bit of the beans to get over that lip. Doesn't like getting over that lip. Alright, we're gonna go vertical. Autopilot on. Lift off. I see this should have no strength problem once it gets loaded up with cargo either. There we go. Full forward. No, see how docile it is? I just slammed them full forward, no problems. Alright, let's do a test. So I need to go down. This might have fixed it, dude. This is perfect. Let me check the trim. Look at that. Perfect. 100% perfect. Awesome. So look at my pitch. My pitch is right on the horizon bar. My VSI is what matters. I talked to Basilicious and he added this function. Depending upon a bunch of factors, weight, how the airplane's set up, Level flight does not mean deck angle is level, and that's where a lot of people were confused, and they thought the deck angle always needed to be level for level flight. If you, let's say you're going transcontinental, you're going across the ocean, you have a lot of fuel, you have a lot of passengers, you have a lot of cargo, your pitch will actually be, your deck angle will be vertical, it will be above the horizon like this, so you'll have a positive tilt sensor, but your VSI will be 0. So, for example, what you want to do is you want to get your VSI to 0, your vertical speed indicator. Now, this is the horizon. See, I'm about 1 bar above the horizon. So what I asked Basilicious and he did was, you see it right here? This allows me to move my horizon. And so you set your horizon. What you do is you set your VSI to 0. There we go, 0. We're not climbing. We can back it up with the autopilot too. We do a cross check. So there's about right there, and so we would change our artificial horizon to match what is level flight. So level flight does not mean level deck angle. Level flight means you're not climbing or descending. So, and you do that because I want to go to the horizon and not climb or descend. And so now I'm at the horizon, not climbing, descending. And my pitch, my deck angle is actually a little bit high. And so that's like some of the things you need to know. So, okay, so now we have all 4 work nicely for roll. I want this to feel stiff and like a big, heavy airplane. I don't want this to feel like a light little fighter jet, you know? A light little fighter jet should feel like a light little fighter jet. A big dog should feel like a big old dog. This works really well now. So just those tiny little fins, you know, and that's, again, that's the great thing about this game is the configurability is adding a little couple fins there just made this fly perfectly now. And it solved a bunch of problems. But she's a big flying whale. All right, let's go to Harrison. And I'm gonna do a land. I'll do a horizontal landing. I do love the paint job on this. I think the paint job came out really good. It's fun. But so this, I've been kind of, you know, so every time I do English language me speak, every time I do a build challenge, I get to a point where, for example, like the way I do the build, or the way I do my videos generally is, you know, so for a build challenge, I'll record the parts. I record, you know, I read the rules. I go through. I do the workshop page for the first build. Then I do another video for the review of the first build. Then I do workshop page build, workshop page build, and then I might do intro, outro in the same one, and then all that stuff. So anyway, you know, I've by the time I get to the final edits, I've watched this video like 5 times, and I've also, you know, made the video, and so I've already like heard it all 100 times, but I want to listen through it again to make sure that, you know, there's no errors in it, or like if there's a bunch of dead space to cut it up and to fix it, or whatever I need to do. So I literally watched that video like 4 times all the way through. And so if it's an hour long, I've spent 4 hours just listening to the same video. And so I don't really need to pay attention super duper well because I'm just listening for little errors, not for big problems. And so what I usually do is I'll make a build while I'm doing it because I'm like, I got a lot of downtime. And so while I'm doing it, so this is what I built on that one was, you know, I had the downtime, so I just built that. I might, you know what I might do? See where the back right here? I might thin that out a little bit. That might look good. Yeah. You know, the editing, like sometimes, like I just did a Tarkov video. Please go and watch. I just did a couple of Tarkov videos that were fun. The shorts aren't too bad. You know, like I spent 20, 30 minutes on those. But like the nice thing with the shorts is to watch them through again. Like this latest short I just put out for Tarkov. I'll refresh the TikTok. It's less than a minute, you know, because it was for, I also made it a YouTube short, so it was less than a minute. So if I have to rewatch that video like standard 4 times to make sure it's right, it's 4 minutes. That's why, like, I talk about when I do a build challenge, and like one of the build challenge videos was the video was 6 hours long, 4 to 6 hours long, something like that. So I had to watch that video 3 times just to make sure the edit was good. And so that is, I forget, what did I build? Did I build Albatross on that one? I built another build on that one, and it was like, you know, I have 4 hours to sit. You know, that one took 16 hours to do. You know, just to like listen to the video, and so it's you know, sometimes that can be monotonous trying to just listen because, like, you know, it's like 99.9% right, it's good, but the issue is you're like looking for that 1% of like, this is a screw up you don't want in your video, and so it's like that little 1%, you're listening to the video again for the 1%. And then I have to put it on YouTube. I usually like give it a quick like check to make sure, because Citrus does a good job of pointing out when the audio doesn't work. Because there was one option on DaVinci that you'd accidentally hit all the time that would make it so that it would only export like something without audio, and then you had to just like recompile it, and so it's a pain. All right, so coming into land here at Harrison, I do have this dial right in front of me, but I'm kind of the king of landing with poor visibility anyways. I don't need big visibility to land really well. So, all right, we're coming in at 100 knots. That's not too bad. We'll slow down a little bit. You want to come in at your approach speed, especially a plane that's like big and heavy like this. Oh, looks like we're stalling out a little bit, so probably about 90. Let's come in. Let's approach at like 95. It behaves well. I'm just trying to get lined up at Harrison here. They put a mountain in front of everything, so. Where the hell am I? Am I off? I'm off. It's over here to the right. I was looking at the terrain. They put a mountain in front of every runway. So 90 knot approach speed is pretty good. Like, to put it into perspective, the Piper Seminole, a 4-seat piston twin, comes in at 90 knots. You know, so big plane like this coming at 90 knots, that's pretty nice and slow. That's not bad. So, all right, there we are. We're on final. Could use a little bit more rudder authority, but it's a little bit more roll authority, but it's not bad. Like, you have to dump it in here. You have to come in. You want a 3-degree glide slope. I need more than a 3-degree glide slope because of the mountain in here. But it's not bad. It's not too onerous. O'Neill, you need a little bit more. I plopped that one because I wasn't in first person, but so I'm actually I can go in. I'm in reverse right now. You notice my engines are in reverse, so that helps me slow down. You know, so like Citrus was talking about the tailwind issues and why you don't want to land with a tailwind. It's not a huge deal if you're in like a small Cessna or whatever. Coming in at 90 knots isn't a big deal because even if you have a 3,000-foot runway, which is pretty short, your ground roll is not that much. The problem is, let's say you're coming in with a 747-800, still has a lot of fuel on board and is full of cargo and is very heavy. And now your ground speed, let's say you have a 40-knot tailwind. So your normal approach in the 7.4 with that much weight might be 130. So now you're adding 40 knots on it. Now you're coming in 170 knots. And so your wheels have a maximum speed too. Your wheels max speed is probably like 200 knots. You're probably fine. You're probably not going to blow out your tires just like overspeeding them. But coming in at 170 knots in the 748 with full weight, now you have to worry about overheating your brakes and starting a fire. You have to worry about your ground roll. You might need 13,000 feet to stop. And so the longest runway I've ever gone to, I think, was like maybe it's JFK, 13,000 and change. So if your ground roll is 13,000 and you're landing, you might not have enough runway to stop. And so now if you turned around and you landed with a headwind, now that 7.4 that needs 130 knots now needs 90 knots because it has a 40-knot headwind. And so your ground speed is now 90 knots. Well, guess what? Now you're able to stop that 7.4 in, you know, maybe 6,000 feet. And so now you have no problem. So there are certain circumstances where you can't land if you have too much of a tailwind or a headwind. Or not a headwind. If you have too much of a tailwind, you need to turn around the other side of the runway to take off with a headwind. Now, same thing with takeoff. You might need 13,000 feet to take off with a big tailwind. Well, if you only have 10,000 feet, you can't take off. Now you turn it around a headwind, you might need 8,000 feet, and bingo, you can make it off. So, but this is working really well. This I'm liking this. I love the look of it. It's just the silliest thing. It's really good. But yeah, so this is pretty much 100% working now. You know, we'll probably do another live stream on it and clean it up. I like to get these to the point where I can put them in the career build series. That's kind of what's been the push on this is we're a little bit hurting on money in the career build series, and I need to be able to, I want to be able to move some containers up to BVG. So let me check and see if, read some chat here. It was good to see you there, Zop. Yeah, it was weird the fins in the back made it worse. Yeah, it was a little weird to me that it was doing that, but there are some reasons for it. If the center is creating a lot of lift, it could be trying to essentially, it's like trying to rotate up off of a ball. You imagine if you laid on a ball, if you pick your feet up, you might just roll forward as well. If you push your nose down, it might fix it. So there's a bunch of weird things you have to kind of consider. A lot of it's just like, I can't even articulate it right. It's just kind of like knowing how a plane flies, and so I know kind of where I need my motion. It's a little bit complicated at times. Dornier jet VTOL cargo plane. Yeah, they it never went into production. It was very cool, but it was like way too many engines. You know, that's one of the reasons why the U.S. beat the Soviets to the moon, was they had a really cool moon vehicle, but it just had too many engines. And it was just a problem. Yeah, editing the challenges are not too bad. Now that I have kind of a method going, it's not too bad. You know, the first thing I do is I go in, I grab the builds, and I do workshop page for the first one, review for the first one, workshop page review, workshop page review, workshop page review, workshop page review, and I go through, do them all. I put them in a folder. Then I go and I do the rules. I just put up the Discord, read the rules. And then I take the builds and I do an add-on where I put them all out together. And I do an intro, and then I do the outro, and then I put the, then I do the winners. I put the winners in an add-on and I read those out. And then I stitch them all together, and I've kind of changed my method. So if, say, for example, I was editing this and I was going to give you guys a goodbye on this, I would say, you know, so this is kind of like what it would look like if I was doing it. So I come in, and so I want to focus on me saying goodbye for the career build series, and I say, okay, this will look cool like this. You know, and I go, you know, so now I'm in there. Sometimes my cursor will show. I've got it shut off right now, but... And so I need to click on the window here to get that to operate. Then I click over on OBS. I need to click over here, and then I need to move the cursor off the screen. I need to press unpause, so you can have a bunch with me just sitting here. And then I go, and thanks for watching this episode of the Career Build Series. And I inevitably screw it up, so I have to do another one. So I come back in, and thanks for watching the Career Build Series. We'll see you in the next one. Bye. And then, okay, I like that edit. That works. So when I go back to edit it, you know, I have to cut out all of this time that I was sitting there, plus the screw up. But if I remember there's a screw up, it's actually easy in DaVinci, because I can see where my voice starts and where it stops. So what I try to do now is I go, so like I'll fake a screw up here. So I go like, and thanks for watching, and thanks for watching the career. I actually did screw that one up. And thanks for watching the Career Build Series. I'll see you in the next one. So like you saw, there were two problems there, and I'll go through, I'll listen to it. I'm like, okay, problem, okay, that's good. And I'll go cut it, and just, I can get rid of that part. And before I used to like be like, ah, god damn it, and I would stop the video or something. Now I just like, screw up, go back, do it again. Okay, good copy of it, and move on, because then it's easy for me to just trim it out. You know, and so that I try to make good spaces for trim out, but there's a way to do it. I'm going off in a second here, Citrus, but I was just showing, like, you know, Owl and I are talking about editing, but, you know, it's like anything, you know, the more you do it, the better you get. So it's like little things I try not to do, like try not to get too frustrated and put in a bunch of bullshit because it makes it harder to cut out. So it's like if I, like, you know, if I screw this up, I just zoom back in, do it again. You know, and then it's easy to trim it out. If I put in a bunch of nonsense, I can't really cut it right. Stuff like that helps. You know, it's good to always leave a gap so that I can stitch things together. So I might press, like, say I had OBS paused, I would unpause it and sit here for a second quietly, and then I would do the outro. And then I make sure I leave enough space, and then I stop the video. And that way, if I have any issue or I need to put something in there, I can. Or let's say that it sounds weird, like I've had an issue lately where, so say I go, and thanks for watching the Career Build series, and special thanks to Citrus. You know, let's say I screw that up, but the video is good. The video looks good, but my audio's crap. Well, then I go in and I record the audio separately and I mute the clip. And so that way, that's something I've learned to do instead of having to go back in and re-record it. If the video's good, I'll do the audio separate, and I'll come back in and then I'll go, you know, so the video's good, I just watch the video and I record, and a special thanks to Citrus, you know, and that's what I would do. Instead of having to re-record the video, I just do the audio separate. So, how's it going there, Aaron? Unfortunately, Aaron, I'm getting off here in a second. How's it going, Ratty Rex? What's going on? Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Aaron. I'm going to be getting off here in a minute, but the whale is working really well here. Did you see the whale at all yesterday there, Aaron? It's probably going to be minky. I'm thinking I like minky. Like a minky whale. I'm still in reverse. I need to change my prop settings, but so I'll go beta. Okay, I'll show you a quick some quick of the exterior. Let me shut the engines off so it's not loud. Sorry for coughing in the mic. I do that a lot, and I have to edit that out as well. So it's a 4-engine whale-looking large transport plane. So the whole point of this is kind of just to be this thing can transport anything pretty much. It's pretty much max size. It was more symmetrical. The front and the back looked identical. Last night I changed it up, made it look more like a whale. In the back, made it a tail dragger. And so this is pretty much like going to be able to haul anything. So the way it works here is you have a nose door. Nose door goes up, and then we have a ramp. I need to fix the ramp a little bit, but ramp comes out and attaches. So I need the ramp to come down a little bit more. It's actually not too bad right now, but it needs to come down just a hair. And then this can either take a vehicle. Vehicles can drive right up in this no problem, or because it has the tracks, container can be dragged up. So there is a container crane, which I don't know if I hooked this back up. I don't think I hooked this back up. No, I did. I did leave a gap in there, so it won't go all the way in. But anyways, this can slide forward, can slide to the right and left, and this can go up and down. And so this can place a container on the sides or in the center or anywhere in between. And then this would be sent all the way forward. I do have that gap in the track, so I can't do it. And then what you would do is you grab a rope on the winch and you hook up to the container, which would be dumped right at the end of the ramp. It would use the winches to suck the container up. And then I would attach the container to the ends, and it pulls it inside, and then I hook it up, and it places it where it needs to go. I do need to put a staircase. I don't know if I'm able to get the staircase in the rear, but likely it's going to be somewhere in the rear here. I might do a dropping ladder. I may do that. I don't know where I'm going to put it yet. I probably have to do that because I pushed the hump all the way up, so I might have to do a front ladder or something. Kind of like a C5 style. And then we have the bridge up here. So that's kind of its job, but it's going to be able to haul. The main reason I kind of wanted to make it was to haul containers up to the up to BVG in the Arctic. The jet VTOL it's not that far from being done, but it's far enough that and that thing is a frustration machine. The propellers are more interesting or a little bit easier, so that thing's kind of a frustration machine. So I need to get both of these going, but that one can haul 2 containers. As you can see, this thing is enormous. This one, it used to be able to haul 6. I don't have a full count on it. Let's actually pull it back in the workbench. I want to do a full count really quick. What the hell? Did I change this? No, did I shut off teleport? No, teleport's on. I've been having this problem today. I can't get my vehicle. I have to like zoom way in. I used to be able to just grab it. Yeah, I think it came together really well, thanks. I'm glad you enjoy it. But yeah, it was kind of it looked really gross. I got a bunch of puke comments on the official Steam Discord, which, you know, of course you did. It's not painted, you ding-dongs, and it's not done. But they, you know, some of the grouchy people there love to just shit on people's builds. But and then I put this one up, and everybody liked it. It's like, yeah, it wasn't done, guys. And so let's do a quick measure. So let's see. I need to do a measure anyway. So we'll do, that's 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. And then we'll do 29. Okay, 29. So it shrunk. The capacity is not going to be as much, but the likelihood that I'm going to want to haul 6 BVGs is going to be probably pretty slim. The other thing I could do is I have a little bit of height. I might be able to ramp it up on this ramp if I need to. So that's a 29 by 11 there. I need at least a 2 gap. So it needs at least 2 gap in here to make sure the containers aren't touching each other. So we need a minimum 2 gap. And then we'll go back to this. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nope, that's not big enough. Okay. Theoretically, I could cut this here if I needed to. Cut that. That actually might be good as like a stanchion to stop on. And then let's see. I kind of want a 2 gap on the sides. So let's see if I can do it. I might not be able to do it there. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So theoretically, I could put it there. I don't generally like to have these within 2 blocks of each other, but the connector would be here. And I don't know if I can't put a connector there. So what I probably want to do is step this forward one at least. So I could probably put it there and have no problems and put a connector there. Then we want to go 29. So 28, and we'll paint here. So this would be 2 more containers there. And I think we probably still have space to shift this forward. Okay, so there is, yeah, we have plenty of space. Okay. And theoretically, I could go, say, as far as here. So we go 1, 3, 5, 7, 11. So there's 11 there, and then we'll count a 29 on this. All right. So, yeah, so we're good on this. I can still fit 6 in here. I wasn't sure. So there's another container, and then these could come forward as much as they need to. So actually, we're good. Actually, that's 4. I was able to do 6 last time. Yes, we do have we are cut down a little bit. But I'm happy with 4. I don't need 6. Yeah, so before we could do 6 because this section here was gone and I could slide this back more. So we could theoretically we could get 1 in there, but I don't like getting them within 2 blocks of each other. So probably move these forward. Let's measure the space. So I'm gonna put some paint on the ground, and that way it will tell me where the containers can go. Let's measure this. 40. Of course, you're an even number. I hate even numbers. So let's go. What's half of 39? 15 and 4 is 19, 20. 20 right there. All right. So that's 20. All right. Did you get a message, Aaron, or was it just you didn't see it? Because I'll make sure. I know Aaron keeps missing the messages. I'll make sure I send you a add Aaron if you want, when I go live. Let's see, 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's measure 29 from here. Oh, what do we have here? 29, 10, 15. We do 14 and 14. It's always easier just to measure with blocks, I find. So we could go here. So yeah, so like another container could fit here. And then these could come in. I generally like to leave I would like to be able to walk around them, so I might not put them up against the wall. I might set them 2 off the wall. That would work as well. But that looks like that's probably the footprint of where the container is going to go. But I'm happy with 4 containers. 6 sounded excessive to me. 4 seems pretty good there. So I could fit 4 in here. So I'm happy with 4. I think there's nothing wrong with 4. The issue being center of gravity wise, I don't want the center of gravity too far off. So this is going to justify our center of gravity forward. So what I might want to do is slide these back more. So we'll have to see how it affects the center of gravity. You know, if I move these back, so the center point's here, so I can almost get them to the center point, and then this one could slide in some. So I might have to slide these back a little bit to get the center of gravity to behave itself, especially because this is a tail dragger. If I put the CG too far forward, it will sit on its nose. So that kind of looks like the footprint. Let me quickly still let's see. Let's do this. All right. Fix a couple quick errors here. Okay. Fix a couple errors here, and then I'm going to put the containers actually in there and see what they look like. Music ended again. Let's see, get rid of you. Okay, let's grab containers. So I have to worry about it falling on its nose. So this one here in the back should probably push forward 1, which isn't a problem because I need to be able to put the lugs there. So probably do that maybe. Actually, the lugs could go back 1. That's fine. I want to shift everything as aft as possible. So put the lugs right under. Put vertical lugs on there, or I'll put in grippers. I haven't decided yet. All right. I shouldn't have canceled that. I need to pull a new one then. All right, there we go. So I'm just going to lay these in and see how it balances. So ideally, I probably should shift this one back. I could put that spike back in if I go here. So I'll probably keep the spike in because it looks weird cutting it like that. I don't know how I feel about them having up against the walls. And then, so like, say I was going to take 1 container, it would go in the center here. And then if I'm taking 2, I could go forward aft or side side. 3, I'd probably want to favor the rear, but everything has to stay within the CG. So what I'll do is I'll put them on probably gripper tracks, and that way, I can't put gripper tracks everywhere, but because the way the ramp's designed. All right, and let's just quickly go. Should have saved this before I did this, but I can cut them out pretty easily. All right. So we'll see how it sits. This will kind of give me a center of gravity thing. Nice thing about merging this up is I can get a CG on it. So you see how it's still favoring the tail wheel, so that's fine. As long as it still favors the tail wheel, we're good. So that's the 4 containers in there. Let's actually do a quick flight. I always do this. I say I'm going to get off keep going. Just usually go to when I feel like I need a break. But all right, so yeah, this is good. Like I feel like I can move around here, no problem. And then what I could do is I can't put the staircase in the center. So what I'm probably gonna do is I don't know where where are we up here? So it needs to be somewhere forward. So I'll probably do a dropping ladder right here in this gap. So it'll be like on the port side. Nope, that's way too far forward. Okay. Like right here maybe. I'll do a ladder up. So that's probably what I'll do is do a ladder up right here offset off the track. And it'll go right up there. So that's good. Let's grab a quick flight here. I don't have any fuel in this. So let's go ahead and save it. Yeah. Screw it. I'll save it and I'll fix it later. But I still don't have fuel in there either, so I shouldn't have any issues. The original version was this one. The one I started with yesterday could turn them sideways, no problem. This one here could turn them sideways, no problem. So this was the one I worked on yesterday, Aaron. This one could turn them sideways, no problem, because you could get them from here to here, and I could fit 6 in here. This one definitely cannot take them sideways. It could take them sideways, but I'd have to put a rotor on this to rotate. To get that to rotate. And then, you know, I'm also trying to make it realistic. Would you ever be able to put 4 containers, even small half containers like that, in real life in an airplane? No. Would you be able to put it in a vertical airplane? No. So I kind of keep it a little on that. And I also don't want to make something so OP that, like, why would I ever run something else when I could just make $1 million an hour on, you know, running the whale, you know? So that's kind of my thought process with that. So keep it a little bit on the realistic side. So like this, I also need to worry about fuel. So I don't know what I'm going to run fuel-wise, how much I'm going to really need. So like I don't have any fuel in this right now, but the fuel is going to be probably a central bladder right under the center of gravity. So if the CG is right here, the fuel tank will be directly underneath here. It will probably be the center right here and just filled up. That will give me, I think, ample fuel right around just probably right after the wheels right here, so that as the fuel burns, it should be the center of gravity of the fuel should be right under the CG. So as it burns, you go straight up or down. You don't go forward or aft. But what do you mean? Does it storm work? It works. Oh, I see what you say. Does it work? Okay, storm work. Yep. Yeah. Let me see. Oh, you're working on wiring harness for the boat all week? Yeah. Okay, that's good. I just want to make sure I know you weren't getting messages sometimes. Yeah, containers are just not going to be able to fit well sideways anymore. What the hell is this hole I put in there? Oh, it's the container bumped a hole in there. I'll cut those out later. Let's see. Let me measure sideways, see where we're looking sideways. The problem is it's not a huge deal, but let's see what's that. 35. So if it was 35, I can run, let me see. So theoretically, I can run from there to, I'd say 2 off that, 42. So 35 by 42. So 35 by 42, let's do a little math. Because the other one, yeah, it made sense to turn the container sideways. This one, I don't think it does. 35 by 42. So you would do, so each container is 11, and then I add a 2 gap. I want them separated by 2. So it'd be 11, 13, it'd be 13. So it'd be 35 divided by 13. I could get 2.6. So that doesn't make any sense, because I could put 2 containers sideways before I fill up. Is that right? It's got to be. Did the math. Which way am I? Oh, 42. I meant to measure 42. So was it 42 divided by 13 is 3.2. So I could fit 3 along the belly here in here. And that's including this space here. So that would mean this container doesn't fit. So I could fit 3 sideways here. And that is not counting that I want to put this back to 4, so that wouldn't fit there. So we can fit 3 here sideways with the appropriate gaps. If I cut the side on either, so let's say I put, what's that, 33 plus 4. So that's 37. Yeah, so we're still not getting another one in there. So I could probably fit 3 with 1 here and 1 there. So we could go up to 5. I could also, so we go up to 5 pretty much. So, and we could still put one in the center. I don't like getting them within that amount of each other. Like what I could do is if I did gripper tracks, I could get them within 1, but then I can't walk down the center. I can't work my ladder. I think this system just works a little bit better. So this is probably what it's going to end up being is like this. I'm happy with this. I think this is pretty good. Plus, once I'm going to do vehicles in here too, so, I also, the other thing to account for is I need to move a container mover in here, so likely the container mover is going to sit in the center here, so, I'm going to load the container mover in here, and then the last one's going to get sucked on board, because this one's going to sit in the way. So likely they're going to need to be in this position to get a container mover. So this is kind of, I think, the best setup for this because I'll be able to get a container mover in the center here. So that's kind of the thought on that. Just reading some more chat. Yeah. I'm going to cut these. First thing I do next time I work on this, I'm going to cut all the containers out. And I'm going to, this one back here. I took this one out. I saw that. I'm going to cut all these out, and then the main thing I want to do is paint the floor. So the floor is going to be, eventually when I paint the floor out, it will have a CG marker, and it will have an envelope, and then it will have the painting where the containers go, and then I'm trying to decide how I want to attach these. Likely what's going to happen is it will be either connectors or gripper tracks. I haven't decided yet. Like the issue is like here, I can't do a gripper track here because the ramp is in the way. The ramp sits in front of the front one here. The back could get a gripper track. The sides could get a gripper track. This one would probably need some nubs. But all right, guys, I think I'm going to end it up there. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.